This is a hybrid meeting of the city council. Member of the public can view this meeting live on Channel 8 in the city's website and YouTube. Live Spanish translation services are being provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091 *.
Se ofrecen servicios de interpretación en español para esta reunión del Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Marque el número 720-386-9023 y utilice el código 104091 #.
Thank you. All votes on tonight's agenda will be conducted as a roll call vote. Call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Mayor Douglas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble,
Present.
Councilmember Madera, Councilmember Teeter,
Present.
Councilmember Chacon,
Present.
Councilmember Kim,
Here.
Councilmember Dukes,
Here.
Councilmember Ford,
Here.
Councilmember Douglas.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion on the floor to excuse members not present. Councilmember Kim,
So moved.
Councilmember Dukes.
Second.
Okay. All right, take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, it passes 5-3 and 1 excused absence. All right. Please join me for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do any council members wish to amend the agenda? I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. Councilmember Kim.
So moved.
Councilmember Chacon.
Second.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to adopt the agenda as presented. We'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passed unanimously with one excused absence. All right, on to public comments. All public comments except for those in public hearing will occur now. If you are intending to comment about public hearing on tonight's agenda, please refrain from doing so until the public comments for that particular hearing. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes each. Persons registered to speak multiple times may speak multiple times. Will the city clerk please call virtual or in-person speaker?
All right, first for virtual speakers, we have Brandy Sinclair. Brandy, you'll have 3 minutes for public comment once you begin. Please state your name and your address. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Thank you. Yes. So my name is Brandy Sinclair. I requested to speak today on the behalf of the situation that has been recently made public regarding the Adams 14 School District's new hire. Mr. Craig Kim brought up valid concerns and documented history regarding the new principal of the Adams 14 Junior High. According to records, the new principal was involved in making very insensitive comments regarding a student's passing away. There were also many concerns with her financial involvement, lack of documentation on what she spent, lack of approval to use the funds, reconciliation issues, an overall poor audit of how she used that district's funds. Lucy Molino of the Adams 14 School Board, in a very apparent retaliation, has been in public forums on social media making hateful, unprofessional, and racial comments towards Mr. Kim. And then, ironically, calling him out as being racist and sexist. The concerns Mr. Kim brought to the public were well-documented news articles, audit results, and investigations that took place in the new principal's past district. This is not personal opinion. These are real events that took place, and whether the district found them concern enough to hire or not should not avert from his willingness to be open and informative to the community and to the parents. This impacts our kids. However, the comments Miss Lucy Molino made online publicly are outright hateful and should not be tolerated by the district. She has made public comment to demoralize and condescend an entire ethnic race and gender. Those who are children, teachers, and staff in the district that she helps lead, and many of those that fight for the rights of others, and who do believe in equality regardless of race, color, gender, or orientation. Her extremism in these comments and her overall public persona are actually quite distasteful. The comments she made shows that she is causing more separation to our students' futures. She's not bringing us together to fight the hate that is bombarding our country right now. We support Mr. Kim and his transparency, and I respectfully request to any leadership members of Adams 14 that may be listening to take note of her unprofessionalism and inappropriate actions and consider that for her future involvement in leading our children. I'm willing to make the same commentary to the school board, as clearly these events impact both the city and the schools. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop. Sorry about that. Our next public speaker we have on Zoom is Dale Quintana. Dale, you should be able to unmute yourself. Once you begin, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, my name is Dale Quintana. I also wanted to come before the board, the city council, and speak on behalf of Mr. Kim. The situation that happened this last week on Facebook was just Mr. Kim solely just doing as he normally does. He's supplying information to the community that directly affects and impacts the community greatly. This new principal clearly has a past that needed to be seen. If the district, again, made a decision to still hire her, that's fine. But at the same time, Mr. Kim was just bringing attention to a negative situation. When he gives these things to us, he's not giving his opinion on how he feels the matter should be taken up or how people should feel. He leaves it up to the community to make the decision on how we should take that information as it affects our personal families, children, and community. That Adams 14 School Board Director Lucy Molina didn't agree with Mr. Kim bringing this to the community's attention and immediately made a sexist comment about how Mr. Kim attacks women of color that are in power. This is by far not true. Mr. Kim has never shown this type of leadership or views that I have seen. And it is ironic because recently they actually were praising Mr. Kim because he was bringing attention to the new mill and bond that they were trying to get passed. But per usual, the moment that you don't agree with the board or things that they take up, you are the bad guy. And in her words, a sexist, crazy white man. Again, how do you call someone racist when that is the type of rhetoric that you are spewing online? Calling someone by a color is only causing division. She is a person who impacts the community. She is on the board. She should not have this position when we have all these races within our district and in our community. What should be focused on is to get rid of that division. And it's just very disappointing that she is expressing this about a council member who has done nothing but try to bring the community together and just eliminate that. He does so much for the community, cleaning up the parks, bringing attention to things that we need in the city. And I just truly feel that this was uncalled for, unneeded. And I also am willing to go make these same statements to the board about Mr. Kim. It shouldn't be tolerated at all. It is just another way to drive that wedge. And he treats everyone with respect, dignity, and shows no type of sexism or racism that I've ever seen. I will just end this with Mr. Kim continues to do great work in the community. We really appreciate what he brings. And I'm just going to, keep up the great work. Like, we really do truly appreciate what he brings. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Quintana.
All right, now moving into in-person speakers. The first person we have to speak is Jackie Valdez.
Good evening, Councilman, City Management, Police Department. One of the things that I want to address tonight is we're continuing on with the big trucks coming through. Unfortunately, today we had quite a few come through and my camera system wasn't working because the cable company was there working on it. So half the time it wasn't working. Second of all is the ATVs, the mini bikes, the go-karts. They have been coming through quite a bit. Friday night, I contacted the police department. I was sitting in front of my house, just pulled up, and happened to look up and the ATV was doing donuts in the middle of 68th and Albion. Then I'm looking, as I'm looking at him, he's doing the donuts and then he starts to tumble. He pulled out of it, shot into the parking lot where the Grange is. So I called the police department. They showed up really fast and they did ticket him. But we have been addressing the mini bikes. So when I talked to the officer, he said that he was giving the young man a break and gave him a warning. And I explained to the officer that he was a repeated offender, that last summer we had this gentleman consistently going up and down the street, 68th, Albion, Ash, even clean up into Derby and to Commerce City. And he said that if we had seen him again, just to contact them and let them know. So I'm letting you all know this is really becoming a problem really, really fast. Second, last night, after we had dinner and stuff, get ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden we hear gunshots. Well, I can tell you, I was pretty impressed. Commerce City Police showed up as fast as they did. I mean, and so when I talked to one of the officers, and I have to commend the police department and the city for the towers that they have for when the gunshots go off, because it gave them indication exactly where it was, and they were there quick. So I commend them for that. We need to get a handle on this quick before someone gets seriously hurt or killed. And we need those drones up in the air. We need assistance with the police department. We cannot continue going through what we're going through over in that area. We are dark, and we need light-up poles. And so that's another thing that I'm asking the city for, is for them to put poles, light-up poles, to make that area more lit up. Because we're so dark over here that, hey, that's the #1 area that the criminals want to run to. You know, and so please take advice that that's what we need, and we need the drones. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next to speak, we have Keith Rogers.
Evening, Mayor, Council. One thing we need to figure out is some common ground for our code enforcement. She wrote the gal across the street up for having too much on her front porch. There's other porches around that had a lot more stuff on it than hers. They supposedly mailed the notice, but by the time she found out about it, she was already getting a fine. This woman has arthritis in her spine. She's been under the weather. She's been sick. Her child's been sick. She's handicapped. They can't always get everything done around that house that needs to be done. Last year, the gentleman that was out actually helped her move some stuff off her porch for her. This year, the gal got kind of nasty about it when she made that comment. Well, it's not my job. Okay, well, we understand that. She said, I'm not saying it is your job, but letting you know the other guy did help me out. The next door neighbor got 2 separate notices because Joyce says her cans across the fence for them so they can recycle them. Code enforcement saw those, man wrote that right up, just right now. Then wrote them up again on a separate one because their Jeep in the driveway had a flat tire. Returned the next day with fines. Okay, I thought we had 10 days to come into compliance. I got a notice on stuff that I need to take care of, which I knew of, but working 60 hours a week, you know, I don't have a whole lot of time either. I've got most of it taken care of already. I understand, yeah, I deserve the notice, but when they're finding people that actually need help to get things done, they ought to be helping them find the right resources, not just slapping them with the fine. I've called on ATVs. Well, it was shift change again. Well, it takes 2 hours to do shift change. By that time, the kid's done put the thing away again. But he's out there burning cookies in the dirt, stirring up all the dirt and dust. I just cleaned my house over the weekend. Now I've got all this dust from him coming into my house again. We need to take care of them.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Our last in-person speaker is Renee Bullock.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Renee Bullock, 6130 Ivanhoe Street, Commerce City, Colorado. I come here with some good news and some bad news. I'm going to give you the bad news first. E.E. Casey Hayes passed away on the 11th of May, and a lot of you probably don't know who he is, but he was our mayor from 1999 to 2003. His funeral will be on the 10th of May. He passed away the 4th of April, the 11th of April. And his funeral will be the 10th of May at the Milliken Presbyterian Church, 201 South Olive Street, Milliken, Colorado. And if you can't attend, I would really appreciate if the city would send some kind of condolence of flowers or something to his wife, Mary Ann, because he was, and he still is. Once a mayor is always a mayor. That's my bad news. I don't even want to give you the good news because it seems like it's following, but we're having an event on May 3rd, fastest 2 minutes in horse racing at Key Bank from 3 to 5:30. So it's a subdued message, but I felt it was more important to tell you about Casey Hayes passing.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear that.
That is all we had.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Members of the public are able to submit written comments online by mail, and written comments were not received by the deadline and were not incorporated. If any follow-up is necessary, you should expect to hear from, should be contacted by a staff member. Okay, up next, proclamations. Missing and Murdered Indigenous Person Awareness Day proclamation. I invite Councilmember Chacon forward to read the proclamation.
I'm reading this ahead of May 5th, which is the actual day nationally. So the proclamation, whereas Indigenous people are at a disproportionate risk of experiencing violence, murder, or going missing, and make a significant portion of the missing and murdered cases reported to the Colorado Division of Criminal Justice. And whereas on this Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day, we affirm our commitment to honor the lives of murdered and missing Indigenous persons, particularly women, girls, and two-spirit individuals, and continue to shine a light on egregious and unconscionable treatment towards and against Indigenous peoples still. And whereas more than 4 out of 5 Indigenous peoples have experienced violence in their lifetime, including more than half who have experienced sexual violence, and whereas as many as 85% of Indigenous two-spirit individuals and queer identities fulfill one of many mixed-gendered roles traditionally found in many Indigenous groups have been a victim of violence, and whereas many Indigenous people continue to experience systemic and individual discrimination, and Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit individuals experience highly disproportionate levels of life-threatening and gender-based violence, trauma, and exploitation. And whereas surrounding Indigenous nations continue to experience the loss of loved ones, and we stand in solidarity with the families in Colorado and across Canada and the United States who have missing and murdered family members. And therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City hereby declares May 5th, 2025 as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day in Commerce City, and encourages all residents to educate themselves and increase their awareness of the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people in Colorado and across Canada, Mexico, and the United States.
Thank you, member. Thank you, Councilmember Chacon. I need a motion and a second to approve proclamation. Councilmember Kim,
So moved.
Councilmember Chacon.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I'd just like to thank Councilmember Chacon for reading this very, very important proclamation. I am from South Dakota originally, where I know how our Indigenous people are treated. And being next to North Dakota, where there is a lot of fracking, drilling, I know how many, especially women, go missing, and you never hear about it on the news. It's just a buzz in the community, and that's about as far as it goes. And so by having this proclamation, I think that it brings greater awareness to the problem, and understanding that it is something that we need to look at and address, and make sure that this population is treated with the same kind of respect and acknowledgement as others. Because when it happens in other communities, I can tell you it gets a lot of attention, and it doesn't here. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you so much for reading that proclamation. And I appreciate what you do, especially with Women from the Mountain, your nonprofit, because that is the basis of the existence of that nonprofit. And so I thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Chacon.
Thank you, Councilmember Douglas. I really want to thank the city and Dylan Gibson for really bringing this forward and holding true to it this entire time as well. We tried to bring it a year ago, and I worked with the MMIR task force here before the governor. We were able to pass 2 bills just to get on the Amber Alert, and it took 2 bills just to be able to be registered on an Amber Alert. I also recently learned that in my ward, when it was once called Brighton, there was a woman that was killed there the year I was born in 1985. So we are still finding relatives in the space, especially even in Commerce City. And I welcome working with any state, federal, or law enforcement agency so that we can bring these families closure and be able to heal in the way that they deserve. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chacon, for bringing this forward and making sure that the proclamation is read and heard this year. Thank you. All right, the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. I will ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, it passed unanimously with 1 excused absence. Thank you very much. All right, up next is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I will invite George Zhang forward to read the proclamation.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, council member. Whereas our residents deserve to be treated with dignity, respect, compassion, and justice, regardless of race, religion, color, national origin, sex, age, income, and economic status, political affiliation, military status, sexual orientation, or physical, mental, or sensory ability. And whereas the origin of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the United States dates back to 1978, when a joint congressional resolution established Asian Pacific American Heritage Week in early May to coincide with 2 important milestones in Asian Pacific American history. The arrival in the United States of the first Japanese immigrants on May 7, 1843, and contributions of Chinese workers to the buildings of the transcontinental railroads completed May 10, 1869. And whereas in 1990, the first Asian American Pacific Heritage Month was designated by presidential proclamation, and in 1992, Congress permanently designated May of each year as a month-long celebration that is now known as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And whereas additional Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month information and resources can be found at asianpacificheritage.gov, and Asian Pacific Islander Americans continue to enrich our region's economy, culture, education, politics, art, literature, science, and technology developments, despite institutional and systematic injustice designed to prevent and limit these achievements and contributions. Now, therefore, the City Council hereby proclaims the month of May 2025 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and encourages residents of Commerce City to learn more about those of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander heritage, and to celebrate this month with appropriate programs and activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zhang, for reading the proclamation. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim?
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Councilmember Kim?
First and foremost, thank you for being up here today to go ahead and speak on this. You know, it's similar to, not similar to, equal to, I guess you could say, within the indigenous community as well. I mean, you know, we come to America to prosper, to live a life that's considered free. You know, we've always been discriminated against, same with others as well. We are part of a, and this is going to sound very familiar, part of a marginalization. We are marginalized as well. And it goes on for other races and other genders as well altogether. But I mean, for us to be able to bring forward as far as with our cultures, our various Asian cultures that we have, to the American population, to just anybody who wants to know about it, obviously means a lot. For myself, I've been there, been threatened, been told several different things, especially in my upbringing, living in the projects, also joining the military as well. But essentially, the military helped me, understand that there's a huge diverse amount of people that honestly, at the end of the day, for me, it was about just, how much of a subject matter expert are you? It didn't matter what your color of your skin was. Didn't matter if you were part of the LGBT community. Doesn't matter if you're trans. Doesn't matter if you're race as well. So, that was something that really, I really appreciated altogether. But having others learn about the Asian AAPI in general is always great to know and always great to hear. So again, just want to throw it out there. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kim. Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Jory, for your eloquent reading of this proclamation, and I'd like to thank you for making Commerce City your home. Appreciate having you here, and thank you for reading this tonight.
Thank you.
Again, thank you very much for reading the proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, in the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. We'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote, please.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8 with 1 excuse absence. All right, up next is Mental Health Awareness Month. I will invite DEI Commissioners Blanca Gonzalez Del Rosa and America Carbajal forward to read the proclamation.
Good afternoon. Whereas Mental Health Awareness Month has been observed since 1949 to raise awareness of mental health conditions and the importance of mental health, and whereas the mental health promotion starts in childhood and all Coloradans benefit from access to early health education, prevention, and intervention, and half of all the chronic mental illnesses begin by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24. And suicide is now the leading cause of death for youth between ages 10 through 14. And whereas more young Coloradans need to access emotional and mental health support every day in the community and during the school day, and schools recognize that increased access to services and support within the school day is crucial to assisting our youth. And whereas early childhood and family services that emphasize strong family relationships and healthy children foster individual well-being across our communities. And whereas Colorado continues to increase access to services that contribute to promotion of a healthier state and make Colorado a leader in mental health in the United States. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City proclaims the month of May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Commerce City, Colorado, and encourages all members of the community to normalize discussions of mental health and seek help when needed.
Yo soy América Carvajal y voy a leer la misma proclamación en español. Nuestra comisión de DIA permite que tengamos los dos lenguajes. Considerando que el mes de concientización sobre salud mental se celebra desde 1949 para crear sobre las afecciones de salud mental y la importancia de la salud mental, considerando que la promoción de la salud mental comienza en la infancia y todos los habitantes de Colorado se benefician del acceso a educación, prevención e intervención temprana en materia de salud, y que la mitad de todas las enfermedades mentales crónicas comienzan a los 14 años y 3/4 partes a los 24. El suicidio es ahora la principal causa de muerte en jóvenes de entre 10 y 14 años. Y considerando que más jóvenes de Colorado necesitan acceder a apoyo emocional de salud mental todos los días en la comunidad durante la jornada escolar, y que las escuelas reconocen que un mayor acceso a servicios y apoyo dentro de la jornada escolar es crucial para ayudar a nuestros jóvenes. Y considerando que los servicios para la primera infancia, la familia que enfatizan las relaciones familiares sólidas y la salud infantil fomentan el bienestar individual en todas nuestras comunidades. Y considerando que Colorado continúa aumentando el acceso a servicios que contribuyen a la promoción de un estado más saludable y lo convierten en un líder en salud mental en Estados Unidos. Por lo tanto, se resuelve que el Ayuntamiento de Commerce City proclame mayo de 2025 como mes de la concientización sobre la salud mental en Commerce City, Colorado. Y aliente a todos los miembros de la comunidad a normalizar las conversaciones sobre salud mental y a buscar ayuda cuando la necesiten. Ciudad de Commerce City, Colorado.
Thank you. Thank you both for reading that in English and Spanish.
Gracias.
I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Kim?
So moved.
Councilmember Teeter?
Second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? Councilmember Dukes? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I wanted to thank both of you as well for coming and reading this proclamation. It's a very important one. So many people are suffering right now from grave mental illness issues because of just the culture that we're living in right now today. And so to bring this forward is great, and to have it read in both English and Spanish is fantastic. And thank you so much, both of you, for being on the DEI Commission. We need people like you to keep this going. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Chacon?
I'm really grateful for you bringing this forward. This isn't just our family members, but the more we're able to really talk and destigmatize mental health in a way that it really is seen at, I know that it helps the greater population. This is my family members. This is my partner. These are those that struggle with it every day, but it also is all of us that honestly have to deal with different levels of just emotional and mental support we don't always have access to. So I really appreciate you bringing this forward, and I hope that we can help really support you, not only in the DEI, but community at large, to really learn more about their mental health. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kim?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, mental health is obviously something that is never to be messed with. There's always people, I mean, back in the day, I remember, you had to be tough. You had to go out and realize that mental health, it's, you're a sissy if you talk about your issues and all that. But I'll tell you right now, for myself, as a 44-year-old man, also in the military, a lot of things that I've seen and done. I mean, obviously, mental health is big, and seeing somebody is always great because that really helped me through a lot of different situations. I will say that you hear that motto over and over again. That statement: "It's okay not to be okay, as long as you get in front of somebody, as long as you talk to somebody, as long as you are able to open up about it. Never bottle it up. That's the worst thing you can do." But anyways, I just want to say thank you to Bianca and gracias, America. So thank you very much. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other council members? Yes, I want to say that this is a reminder that mental health is just as important as physical health. And everyone deserves care and understanding and to access that help as well. And as we know today, mental health has really not part of our makeup when it comes to public health. It's been diminished. and some would like to take it away. And I think that should be upfront, especially around school and education as far as schools, school districts. I think would be very helpful for young people to get that help when it comes to mental health, because a lot of them are suffering and they don't know where to turn. So I appreciate you both for reading this. And you guys are also up next for material health, but first we need to vote. The motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. We'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. Okay, up next is Material Mental Health Awareness Month. And also DEI Commissioners Blanca Gomez del Raza and America Carvajal forward to read the proclamation. Oh, maternal mental health, I'm sorry.
Whereas in the United States, 1 in 5 women suffer from a pregnancy-related mental health disorder, which can occur at any time during pregnancy and well beyond 1 year postpartum, making perinatal mental health conditions the most common complication of pregnancy, and 75% never get care. Whereas the United States ranks the highest among industrialized nations in maternal mortality, with perinatal mental health conditions being the one of the most leading causes of mortality. With regards to morbidity and mortality, rates among the Black and Native American birthing populations are even higher. Whereas causes of these preventable deaths include inadequate screening and referral protocols, social cultural factors, lack of community-based care, and too many maternity care deserts across the country. Causes also include the intense shame that can deter mothers from seeking help. Whereas employment, income, housing, food security, and transportation are all closely linked to the health and wellness and can magnify perinatal mental health conditions, or in fact, be the exact barriers to obtaining adequate treatment. Whereas Commerce City must maintain its efforts to maximize health prior to pregnancy for our residents, including but not limited to preventing smoking, improving access to physical and nutritional wellness, improving economic outcomes for women, expanding and increasing family-friendly workplace policies, supporting child care industry recovery, reducing sexually transmitted diseases, reducing domestic violence, reducing gun violence, and reducing housing insecurity and homelessness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Commerce City hereby declares May 2025 as Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month in Commerce City and acknowledges that healthy parents lead to healthy children and families, which in turn leads to healthy cities for our future residents.
Lo voy a hacer en español. Considerando que en Estados Unidos 1 de cada 5 mujeres padece un trastorno de salud mental relacionado con el embarazo, el cual puede ocurrir en cualquier momento durante un embarazo, mucho después del año del posparto, lo convierte a las afecciones de salud mental perinatal en la complicación más común del embarazo, y el 75% nunca recibe atención. Considerando que Estados Unidos ocupa el primer lugar entre los países industrializados en mortalidad materna, siendo las afecciones de salud mental perinatal una de las principales causas de mortalidad en cuanto a morbilidad y mortalidad, las tasas entre las poblaciones de partos afroamericanos e indígenas americanas son aún más altas. Considerando que las causas de estas muertes prevenibles incluyen protocolos inadecuados de detención y derivación, factores socioculturales, falta de atención comunitaria y demasiados desiertos de atención materna en todo el país. Las causas también incluyen la intensa vergüenza que puede disuadir a las mujeres de buscar ayuda. Considerando que el empleo, los ingresos, la vivienda, seguridad alimentaria y el transporte están estrechamente relacionados con la salud y el bienestar. Pueden agravar las afecciones de salud mental perinatal o de hecho ser los obstáculos exactos para obtener un tratamiento adecuado. Considerando que Commerce City debe mantener sus esfuerzos para maximizar la salud preembarazo de sus residentes, incluyendo entre otros la prevención del tabaquismo, la mejora del acceso al bienestar físico y nutricional, la mejora de los resultados económicos de las mujeres, la expansión y el aumento de políticas laborales favorables a la familia, el apoyo a la recuperación de la industria del cuidado, la reducción de las enfermedades de transmisión sexual, la reducción de la violencia doméstica y la reducción de la inseguridad habitacional y la falta de vivienda. Por lo tanto, se resuelve que yo, alcalde Douglas, en nombre del Ayuntamiento de Commerce City, declaro mayo 2025 como el mes de la concientización sobre la salud mental materna en Commerce City y reconozco que padres y madres sanos tienen hijos y familias sanos, lo que a su vez conduce a ciudades saludables para nuestros futuros residentes, en testimonio de lo cual he puesto mi firma y he hecho que este sello se fije en el 21º.
Thank you, Blanca and America, for reading the Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month. Any council members? Sorry, need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation? Councilmember Chacon?
I make a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, to approve.
Councilmember Teeter?
Second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you again, Bianca and America, for coming in tonight and reading these very, very important proclamations, and especially this one, maternal mental health. Thank you.
Thank you as well. I appreciate that. This is another that brings attention to the needs for better care, education, and resources to ensure safe and healthy outcomes for mothers and babies. So I appreciate both DEI commissioners for coming in and reading the proclamation. It's very important. Thank you. All right. Oh, we need to vote. Sorry.
Your vote is open.
Thank you.
Okay, that passes 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. Okay, up next is Public Service Recognition Week. I will invite Planning Commissioner Scott Van Heusen forward to read a proclamation.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to bring this in front of council today, absolutely recognizing how important the staff of Commerce City is, but it's not just to recognize this staff, but the greater public servants for all government. Public Service Recognition Week proclamation. Whereas Americans are served every single day by public servants at the federal, state, county, and city levels, these unsung heroes do the work that keeps our nation working. Their tireless efforts are especially critical today during the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas public employees take not only jobs but oaths, and whereas public servants include administrative assistants, technicians, analysts, coordinators, specialists, inspectors, planners, clerks, supervisors, managers, auditors, accountants, engineers, and countless other occupations in operations, human resources, finance, information technology, engineering, community development, public works, parks and recreation, and administration. And whereas day in and day out, public servants provide the diverse services demanded by the American people in their government with efficiency and integrity. And whereas these public servants at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City, Colorado hereby declares the week of May 4th through 10th, 2025 as Public Service Recognition Week in Commerce City and encourages all residents to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of government employees at all levels, federal, state, county, and city.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that. Need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation? Councilmember Kim.
So moved.
Councilmember Teeter.
Second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? Well, thank you for reading that. I appreciate all what the city, as far as the services and employees. I mean, this is a lot. Just, one thing, we get voted in, so this is always going to change. And as far as the city services, sometimes we don't see the folks who actually do the work. We see them on Monday, but we don't see them through the week unless there's a certain incident or so, or we need to make a phone call to assist us to make sure those people on the other side, on the end who need those services can be taken care of. So I really appreciate all what everyone does. You guys do a great service to the city. Councilmember Douglas.
I would be remiss if I didn't thank Scott for coming forward and reading that very special proclamation. And we connect on the basis that we know what public service is. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do for the community. And keep up the good work, along with Ms. Valdez, Brandy Valdez, sitting in the audience. You are the definition of volunteerism, and from the heart. You do it because you want to do it and not because you're expecting anything in return. We're looking for recognition or glory, and that's the true definition of a public servant. So thank you.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Scott, thank you for reading the proclamation and doing it so well. And I know those things are not short, so I appreciate your time and be able to share it. Someone who has been a public servant at the state and also local levels, the cities, as well as the state of Colorado, and my wife is a public servant in another city. I can't thank you all enough for the work you do, especially in a time where there's a lot of uncertainty from the state, federal, and local level that has taken place, whether it's funding or jobs being cut or eliminated. There's so many things that are happening. Even with our neighboring cities with some budget cuts and things of that nature. I can't, again, thank you enough for the work. And I thank you for your expertise, your trustworthiness, and your consistency. You always show up, and this is across the city, and every public servant, you always show up. You're always there. You're always making sure our city looks the best. It is the best. And because of your due diligence, we are in a better financial position than a lot of other cities. And so I can't thank you all enough as a team. That trickles down to, or cascades down to everyone who serves in the city of Commerce City. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, good. Let's see. Motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
All right, that passes 8-1. Excuse absence, and I will invite the council forward to take a photo with all those who are present. And we'll start out first with Councilmember Chacon.
Back row, especially, yeah, there's just a little lead to your left. Yeah, there, yes, perfect, perfect. And, Mayor Pro Tem, yeah, that's great. Right.
Working with a lot of API communities in Aurora, in Denver, in Commerce cities. We're doing a festival at Civic Park on May 16th from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. It's going to be 12 communities here in Colorado, all API communities. It's going to be free to come.
Brian Wong from Mayor Pro Tem Lafayette and his brother Steve Thomas. I know a lot of those from communities.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to personally invite you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Gonzalez, all ready, folks? Let's come off on the front. Do you want to do it first, please?
Let's scoot up a little bit there further. Thank you. Councilman, if you come, you just lean to your right just to smooth the rail. Perfect. Thank you so much.
I was happy to read this, but shouldn't we have actual public servants up here for this? I was like, this is, like, I'll come as well, but yeah, but this is honoring these folks.
Judge Bowen?
This is actually for security, right?
Travis gave you a selfie with you in it?
Yeah, I can.
Go that way?
Oh, well, I like to hear one of these first, and then we'll do and yeah, guys, you scoot up just a smidge there. And actually, Brittany, let's put you on the step right there. And then Kim, put a I haven't had my bug in there for a while.
I left my water bottle in the room. I'll be back.
Okay, no problem. All right, up next, notice of council business. Joint meeting with Brighton City Council. I'll invite Councilmember Kim to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. So a few weeks ago, I had a very candid yet constructive conversation with the mayor of Brighton, Greg Mills. And during that conversation, it was a one-on-one. We were discussing quite a few things, but one of the things that really stuck out was regarding, the history, I guess, between Brighton and Commerce City, and how we potentially have some shared interests amongst our roadways, amongst, economic development, a few other things as well. What Mayor Mills of Brighton had mentioned before is, I guess there used to be a conversation that occurred previously with City Council back in the day. I'm assuming there was. So kind of what I'm looking to do is try to reinvigorate that, try to bring that back up again. Whether, and this is the part I'm not 100% sure on as to, should this be a full council with Commerce City and Brighton together, or should this be just representatives, two representatives from each to kind of discuss some of the issues or maybe some of the things that we all collectively have an interest in that we want to discuss at either in some form or fashion as far as the meeting is concerned. So my motion initially here is to, number one, is to direct the city manager to determine if Brighton City Council would be interested in this joint collaboration. Obviously, the determining, as far as the timing for all 9 of us to include all of them might be a little bit difficult. But I mean, if this, again, I don't know if the council here would be interested in doing that, or just identifying 2 folks within from our council to meet with their 2 folks as well, to kind of have some good constructive conversations about what the future looks like with our shared interest. So I want to leave it there for a minute, and Mayor, I'd like to get some form of discussion.
Well, first you got to take this. Is that your motion?
So, can we, so the motion, though, is the fact that it's either we can have this motion as an entire council to see if Brighton City Council will be willing to meet, or we can identify just 2 folks within our council, if we are interested, to meet with them, with their 2 folks, kind of just to converse.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Councilmember Chacon.
Sorry, I was going to second.
All right, you can second.
So Mayor, if I may, I think what I heard Councilmember Kim say is he's got a couple of options for a motion. The council can certainly discuss prior to having a formalized motion.
Okay.
Otherwise, technically, what we have is a motion on the floor that is 2 motions built into one.
All right. Okay. All right. Councilmember Chacon.
I'm fine with having a couple council members meet, but if we all want to meet as a body, that works for me too. I just don't know if we can always make meetings in that way, so I'm fine with, I guess, 2 to 3 council members is what you're thinking?
Just 2.
Just 2 council members meeting with Brighton? I'm fine with that, so I second that motion.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you. City Manager Rogers, could you describe the relationship with the city of Brighton from a staff perspective or city manager perspective, and what, if any, projects you're working on with them, collaborating on with them?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. That's a very good question. I would say we have a highly collegial, collaborative relationship at the staff perspective with the city of Brighton. I would say primarily our focus of attention has been in and around when it comes to joint land uses that may be on the border, where we refer applications to either party, whether it's coming from Brighton to the Commerce City or Commerce City to Brighton, understanding and making sure that we're not creating any undue impacts as it may be with respect to to commonly used roadways. So think of 120th Avenue being one. At that same time, we do work collaboratively with them through public infrastructure, whether that is soliciting grants, working in a consortium, and being able to present our combined concerns either to the state being CDOT, when joining at the technical level meetings. Similarly as well, working on efforts and matters, or talking around the table on efforts and matters for grants in support of our school district, given 27J both proffers the northern range of the city, but also a majority in all of Brighton. At the city manager level, obviously, we have a monthly discussion. I wouldn't say it's just myself and Mr. Martinez there at Brighton, but we do come together to talk about some of the things that we're seeing that come through state law from an intergovernmental affairs perspective, and/or potentially things that might trickle down from their municipality to you all that may make it into my every Monday report if it rises to that level. So I would say very collegial, very collaborative, very open in sharing of information and data at the staff level when it comes to operations.
Thank you very much. Then for Councilmember Kim, what did you and the mayor identify as problems that currently exist that would, or what is the need that you and the mayor identified to have these sessions?
Just from a high level, we identified, obviously shared roadways as a concern just between him and I. We also talked about economic development. Again, this is all high level. As far as the more thorough discussions, that was something I wanted to bring back to this council to see if you'd be willing to do so. I think to have a collaborative type of discussion with another city council from a different city that borders us, or that we border them, I think it would honestly help us jointly.
I fully see us having a really good relationship with our fellow council members in Brighton, and have faith that the two staffs are working in coordination, because some of this is very complicated and we're right on the border of each other. So in some ways, we need to be able to know as a city council what it is that we're bringing forward for this conversation. I would think that at most, as Councilmember Chacon said, to just do 2-on-2 at the moment, and see whether there is a need to do fuller meetings together.
Agreed. And sorry, are you?
Go ahead.
Mr. Rogers, do you see any benefit at all then, I guess, to have city council to be discussing with Brighton City Council at all then? Just have a conversation, collaborative type of?
Yes, I do. Like I said, there's only so far that we as staff can reach when it comes to operational matters that ultimately will touch policy guidance and leadership. And to some of that effects, I will give an example because I think it will resonate. When we talk about 120th widening, that is a $100 million+ project. We have been, resourceful in being able to get a 20% or a quarter of that in funding over the period of the last 8 to 10 years. But in order to be able to get the remaining tranche, it's going to rely on a collaborative effort, and it may looking at how we, from a policy perspective, provide a joint statement that will resonate more so than individually of what Brighton and or the city might be able to do. And those are conversations that you can have, right? When we talk about homelessness, what affects us here is ultimately may make its doorstep to Brighton, talking about how both entities could work together on the regionalism of that issue or that matter. So, above to what I can do day in and day out with the team that I have and how we address that, where you all are able to come together and to think about things in a more collaborative, innovative policy direction, that's where I could see that benefit coming back down to both organizations.
Great. So, I don't know, is there any other more discussions?
Yeah, Councilmember Ford, did you have?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think, especially with Brighton because of how our border is, but we have to have good relationship with all of the cities that we abut. Denver, Thornton, Brighton. There are a lot of things with Brighton that I think are a little bit different. Brighton with their growth initiative, they were one of the only cities that identified themselves as a standalone city, requiring buffering to all the other cities. Another thing with Brighton is we have two different facilities within the city of Brighton are served by South Adams Water because of an agreement that we made, and they will come offline at some time. One of them is the Henderson School. Their well was going dry. We agreed to allow them to have a tap from South Adams to make sure that that school had water until they get their water mains out in that area. The other is the Sikh temple out off 120th. That as well is on South Adams Water, but within the service district of Brighton. And then I think most importantly, we have a corner, and I think it's something that we should be working on today. 120th and Chambers, the northwest corner is in the city of Brighton. They do not have services to be able to develop that site. The road, as you can see, is narrow at that point because their portion of that road hasn't been put in. That type of improvement helps our residents. Either we need to figure out a swap of like-type properties that would benefit Brighton, or we need to try to work with them to get those improvements made so the people that live in the subdivision to the north of 120th Avenue there at Chambers have better access and egress through the Chambers Road portion. So I think there's a lot that we should be working with Brighton on when it comes to our trail systems and where we're developing trails down the waterways in different areas. We want to make sure that we're on board to have collaborative efforts to extend that trail on through from a regional perspective. So I am all in support of working with the city of Brighton to collaborate on things that will help both of our communities equitably.
Thank you, Councilmember Ford. Just to highlight you there on that corner, that's been approved. It was a long process with Brighton and the owners of that land, and they decided they wanted to have that come into the city, but we have not yet had the discussion to annex that land. But it was approved by the landowners with City of Brighton. So that's one big step forward.
And, you know, I know there was discussions going on, but I didn't know if we had gotten to a point where that could become commerce cities. I think that those kind of efforts that are goodwill, just like us allowing them to have water services to some of their businesses where they didn't have water available, I think it's reciprocal. And I think we have to work with them at the same level that they're willing to work with us. That's how you get things done.
Yep. Thank you. Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah,
If you're going to go with just two council members, I would recommend that Councilmember Ford would be one of them for sure, because you seem to have the most knowledge about what's going on up there. But I won't be able to make the meeting because me, as well as the mayor, we have meetings with I-270 that same night, so.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. I echo Councilmember Teeters. I think this is a great idea. My only hesitation was just how do we make sure it's productive, and listen to Councilmember Ford, think through the opportunities. I think it would be a great compliment with Councilmember Kim to start this discussion and then see what can follow. But I think the big thing is just that it's productive, and there's a lot of things that we need to think about, even E470 and Sable as they think about that area. And what that looks for us. So I would love the idea of two, having Councilmember Ford be one and Councilmember Kim being the other.
Thank you, Councilmember Dukes. And just to highlight that, E470 in Sable has been approved by E470 as the next on and off ramp onto there. Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. I seem to remember this was brought forward, and Mayor, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I thought you had brought this up to ask about this a while back because you had been talking to the Mayor of Brighton. Would you mind elaborating on what the outcome of that was? I remember that you spoke about it on the dais.
Yes, that had to, thank you, Councilmember Douglas, that had to do with safe routes, safe sidewalks to school. So this right here would be something additional. And Councilmember Kim did reach out to me and ask me, would it be a second on this? And so that's where we're at now. So this would be a different discussion along with what was talked about with myself and Mayor Mills.
Thank you. I had forgotten what the topic was. I would like to at least be able to attend something like that. I know everyone else seems to be satisfied with having two council members there, but I would like to see more than that.
Thank you. Councilmember Chacon, do you have one more thing? Oh,
Just to ask, can we make a friendly amendment that if we want?
oh, there's no motion on the floor yet.
Oh, forgive me. Can we add that if council members do want to join voluntarily and they can, that's okay too?
So there's no motion yet, so
Okay.
Councilmember Kim
Sorry,
to
forgive me.
make that determination. All right, I myself would like to see the full council, whoever can attend, meet with city council, the Brighton City Council. There was discussion years ago with the city, just same thing with Denver. We had a discussion with the city of Denver and their council members, and they invited us to meet with them, and it was really good for us to meet with our neighbors, especially we're a first-tier city to Denver, and we're a first-tier city to the north, as Brighton being a second-tier city. So I think it'd be nice if we could meet as a council. That's what I'm asking, if that's possible. All right, see no discussion, Councilmember Kim.
All right, so just kind of move forward with this. Thank you guys for the productive information too. That really helped me out too. And I think to Mayor's point too, just to have the full council, we can try that. So I guess but the other thing too is determining whether or not if the city of Brighton is willing is to meet as a full council as well. On top of that, determining when we would actually meet with all of us. It's a lot of people. So we'll see what happens there. So I guess my motion is going to be to request the direct city manager determine if Brighton City Council would be interested in a joint collaboration. And also, secondly, is determining a timing of when both city councils may be available for this one of many positive interactions, and to also provide a discussion about our shared interest overall that we have. That's my motion.
Okay, motion on the floor. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, the motion on the floor to direct the city manager to determine if Brighton City Council will be interested in this joint collaboration, determine timing of when both city council members may be able to meet, and to, let's see, for this one or many positive interactions, and to share, to find shared interest. Very productive conversation. Okay.
Your vote is open.
Okay, passage unanimous, 8 with 1 excused absence. All right, thank you, Councilmember Kim. Okay, up next, State of the Court. I'll invite Municipal Judge Bowen forward to give the presentation.
Mayor, good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors.
Evening.
Distinguished members of the city. Thank you. The good news is, it's good news. The city continues to grow. The police department is at full staff. That means our numbers are up. As far as citations to drivers, parking, and animal ordinances, other matters related before the court. It's going well. A lot of people are responding when they first get the citation. So we're not having to do, while our courtroom dockets are expanding, that's by simple numbers. So we have a corresponding number of people who are responding to pay their fine, take a reduction in points, and move on with their lives. We are implementing the email notification reminder to people about their citation is pending and what they can do to address it. And we're finding that that's going to be very helpful in the coming year. Let's see, in 2024, you all approved and we hired a full-time probation officer. This is the first probation officer in memory for the court, and it's been quite helpful. We find that engaging people early on in the cases that are deferred or cases where we are asking them, the defendants, to participate in classes or community service, that her being on task and with them from the initiation. So the defendant appears before the court, those requirements are implemented, the probation officer meets with them directly, sets them up in the class, gets contact information so that they can follow up with them. And we're finding it's been very successful. And there's room for growth, and we'll be doing that. As usual, it feels like we've done far more trials than 5 in a year. But I think that bodes well for the city being reasonable in dealing with people who are before the court and finding ways to resolve the case short of the confrontation that a trial ensues. But we're ready, able, and willing to do it. We have far more trials that are set, but far fewer that actually proceed. To my perception, that's a good thing. We had no requests for, nor did we have any jury trials. And also on the good news front, we had no appeals from any of the proceedings that we had in our matters. We do a Fresh Start event every year. This year it was held on October 16th, 2024, and it will be again in October this year. Fresh Start is an opportunity for people who have outstanding warrants to re-engage into the process, come into the court, resolve their case, get back on track with probation if that's what they're doing, or they're deferred, take care of their fines, wrap things up so we can move ahead in the future. Now, in a very true way, every day is a fresh start in Commerce City. If someone walks through those doors and they want to re-engage, we engage them. But this is something we publicize, we let people know, we try to have available on that day resources otherwise from the community related to housing, education, mental health, social services. Someday we'll actually get the Department of Revenue motor vehicle present because that can be a significant challenge for folks. But we find it's helpful. We've kind of changed our approach. When we first implemented this, we were sending out mailed notices, and overwhelmingly those were returned to us. People didn't leave forwarding addresses. The address on the citation itself wasn't adequate. And so now it's electronic. We send them electronically to the parties involved. And I anticipate we'll be continuing this into the future. So Indigent Defense Counsel, the city and the court strongly believe that persons before the court, especially in cases where they may be subject to incarceration or loss of liberty, are entitled to have court-appointed counsel if they qualify. And the application is usually made available to the defendant when they first make the request. It's reviewed by the courts, and if they do qualify using the state guidelines for indigent appointment, we do have counsel who represent them. There's also legislation that we provide on first appearance. So when someone is in custody and appearing before the court, they are entitled to have counsel. And we do that. And we do that at the city's expense. There has been historically grant money to help us with that. But, that's when a defendant is the most vulnerable regarding the resolution of their case. And it's incredibly helpful that the defendant has the opportunity to speak with a licensed attorney, someone that we have vetted, who we believe does a fine job for us and for the defendants, and either moves the case forward or moves the case appropriately with informed consent. So there are going to be changes to that. So there's new legislation that's going to change that. North Metro diversion or intergovernmental agreements. So the North Metro Youth Diversion Program closed down the LINK, which was the juvenile assessment facility in Adams County, and of which we participated. Basically, that decision was made recognizing that many of the cities were engaged in providing resources and determination of appropriate ways to proceed with regard to the juveniles in our court cases, and that it was being underutilized, and so it was shut down. And then the North Metro Youth Diversion Board, of which we were a member, disbanded as a result of that. So there no longer is such an activity right now in the county. There is a family resource center that is being started by the county, and in which we're keeping a pulse on how we can participate, how we can benefit from that, but it's located outside of the city of Commerce City. And then the Adams County Detention Facility, we have a very good working relationship with them. When defendants are in custody pursuant to state law, the detention facility notifies Commerce City Municipal Court. Our clerks facilitate video appearances for that defendant to appear before myself or one of our judges, and then also with counsel. And then we're able to frequently move those things ahead. We do that primarily with Adams. We do some with Denver, some with Arapahoe, and some with Douglas counties. Some of the other counties won't accommodate that. So when we're advised that someone is in custody, there's basically two options. We can offer to that person in custody a proposed plea by mail, which is a written form which gives them an advisal of rights on what the city is proposing to do to resolve their case. And then if they choose not to do that under Colorado law, after 48 hours, they are given an automatic personal recognizance bond. And we try and encourage that they are reminded there are two parts to a personal recognizance bond. The person's return to liberty on the agreement that they will show up in court. And unfortunately, we have a very high failure to appear rate on personal recognizance bonds. We have participated in the annual Colorado Municipal Judges Association conferences. They have quarterly meetings that have been set up through that organization with the Colorado Supreme Court Justice Marquez. And I participate in those when we're able. And then we started a group of the municipal judges in Adams County, a 17th judicial district, so including Broomfield, where quarterly the judges meet in a round table. So we can just kind of say, hey, are you seeing this trend? Do you have this issue? So we're not reinventing the wheel, and we're also able to support one another. And, well, we tried this and it didn't work, or this works great. Have you tried that? And we found that to be quite helpful. There's pending legislation, Senate Bill 2562 indicates, 2562, it did pass, and it says that even if you're a home rule city, you cannot supersede state statute with regard to contempt requirements. And contempt of court is when a person, so here's what I say in court, that there was an order, that you knew what the order was, that you failed to comply with it and had the ability to do so, then you can hold a person in contempt of court. You can also hold them in contempt of court if they tip over the podium or throw a bottle of water or something like that, but primarily it's failure to comply. And there are some outlying cities, not just yet geographically, but cities that have opted to utilize this beyond what might usually be considered appropriate under those circumstances. And it gets frustrating. I'm going to tell you, we have people who have 6, 8, 12 cases with us. They refuse to come to court. We finally get them in front of us, and we'd like to, impose a significant sanction to remind them that this is a court. These are orders. They're not suggestions, good ideas, things that you might want to do if you can do, that they're court orders. But we are limited in what we can do. Now, it's been the position of myself and of the court that there are limits on what's a reasonable amount of time. And this legislation's in response to some of the articles you may have seen in the paper about some courts imposing up to a year in custody for contempt of court. And, we know, I know, having done this a really long time, that, 7 days is a long time. 30 days, you're going to lose your job, likely lose your home or your apartment, not make your bills, not make your payment on your storage unit, lose everything you own, not see your children. And so 30 days is really would be a lot of time for this court to impose in any circumstance that comes before our court. If there's something that warrants something where we're thinking beyond that, we'll refer that up to the district court or county court. because it's disruptive and it's excessively punitive in this court's position. Now, it does get frustrating trying to get people to show up. We do have an officer who has begun on our court days going out and rounding up some of these people. They know where they are, and they pick them up and bring them in, and we take care of 6 or 8 cases. And it's, sometimes that's what you have to do. But this law doesn't really affect what we have done because our belief in appropriateness, but it does, in a broader sense, address this regarding municipal courts. And then House Bill 1147, 251147, is still under consideration, and it is an effort to align or bring into alignment the maximum penalties that could be imposed by a municipal charter or code and state law. And several years ago, the Colorado legislature updated the possible sanctions available for petty offenses, misdemeanor offenses, and other offenses. And at that time, they did not choose to require the cities to comply with that. Now, we do in Commerce City. We just do. We have no intention of exceeding that. I have not personally spoken with the judge and the municipal judge in the state of Colorado who doesn't comply with that, but there are judges who do not, so I haven't spoken to them. And that's where this measure is coming from, is that the maximum limits are maximum limits. And that raises issues of home rule versus state, and matters of statewide concern versus matters of local concern, and so that's still pending. We have gone all paperless. There are times when we do use paper, but for the most part, we're paper-free, all electronic. Our text message notifications are starting, and we're finding good response to that. We offer virtual hearings as an option. It increases convenience for parties and reduces the number of failures to appear. And I'm a strong advocate of that. We're already recording what happens in the proceedings, and we do that visually as well as audibly. And gosh, if you can just tell your boss you need to go out to your car for 15 minutes to take care of your case, or not have to get a sitter, or come to our courtroom, why not? We're taking care of the case. So I'm a big advocate of that, and it's worked quite well for us. We also, not last year, but the year before, had a building closure, and we're able to conduct over 30% of our court docket virtually because it was set up that way. So it's a good thing, and I'm strongly in favor of proceeding with that. We also implemented a court survey. Our court survey is on paper to persons who come to court, and online to people who do not. And overwhelmingly, we get very positive reports about how the court, our staff, and people's perception, which matters a lot, about how we're doing with municipal court. We have begun to implement LanguageLine, which is interpreter services electronically. I have 240 languages available. We are still using in-person Spanish language interpreters present in the courtroom on every court day. So we're not requiring people to come back because they have a language challenge for the court. And we're finding there's downtime for those interpreters, but it's worth it for that case that needs it. And then for LanguageLine, it was pretty seamless to step into that. Our city prosecutor on both paperless and language line, just stepped up and has been doing it. And so I'm a sales pitch here for electronic and language line. Budget approval for increased in-person interpreter availability beginning January 1 of 25, and that's because we do have an Spanish language interpreter available at all court dates. And it's amazing. The officers may not recognize that the person has a language need. Often we find when people are contacted, they just say yes and nod their head and agree and take the paper and head out the door. Well, not out the door, but down the road. And then we're just finding that it really is helpful to do this. Discussion.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate your presentation. I just wanted to clarify something.
Yes.
We are not fully staffed yet. We have 47 openings here in the city. So we're not fully staffed in our police department. So I'm not sure.
47 openings for the
Yes.
police department. Thank you. I did not know that.
Good.
Oh, Lordy, what that will look like when that's all done.
Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, how many different languages do you deal with?
Well, the last count I had, I keep a little note, was 13 different languages. So that's not 13 persons, that's 13 different languages.
Can you name them off?
I can give you some. Dori, Pashto, Russian, Ukrainian, Vietnamese, to name but a few.
And you just use the Langley?
Now we use language line. We used to coordinate to bring in-person interpreters in those languages here. French, and I remember that for a reason, but, and many of the African nations, we use French as well. But we used to coordinate a person driving to the court, billing the city for time, waiting for their case, here we go. Now, with the language line, we have an iPad, and the iPad starts with the prosecutor, uses the interpreter services through language line, and we use legally trained language line interpreters. And then that iPad's brought to the court, placed right on the bench. The defendant comes forward. We conduct the balance of the hearing with that interpreter. And then if need be, that iPad goes out to the court clerk so they can conclude whatever happened in the proceeding.
Yeah, and I wonder if you shouldn't be asking a question that they would have to answer with another answer besides yes or no, just so you would know that everybody understood what you were saying.
If I had to ask them during the proceedings, for
Well, I
instance?
mean, before they leave, once you try to, I mean, you said earlier that, you know, a lot of times they just say yes and
Well,
no.
that's
Because
my
they don't speak English.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the question that you ask them should be a question that they would have to answer with something else besides yes or no, so that you know that they.
Right. And that's something you might want to
comprehending.
direct to the police department.
Yeah.
In my court, I do ask a number of questions. You know, have you watched the video advisal of rights? You're not represented by counsel. Have you had enough time to think about that? Yes and no, yes and no. Then as to the charge, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty? That's not a yes or no question. So that gives me some comfort that the person is following up and tracking what we're doing. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And the other question I got is,
Yes.
I see you got a calendar here on what days you have court, but what
Yes.
time does it start? That's not in here anywhere.
We start at 8:30, although 8:30 in the morning. Then we have sometimes a 9:30 docket. We have a 10:30 docket for persons that the rangers are citing for camping or issues relating to being housed. And then again, we have a 1 o'clock docket, 2:30 docket for trials, and then 3 o'clock for juveniles.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks for the presentation. And just there's so many things that you've said tonight that just really talk to the heart of meeting people where they're at. And I really appreciate the effort and intentionality of doing everything you're doing to meet people where they're at. Something, and I think it's critically important, especially across our communities and other communities, that, you know, people make mistakes, right? And
Right.
what I'm hearing you say is you don't add on to that mistake and make it a snowball effect, and you meet people where they're at, whether it's homework, virtual, so that doesn't become chances they lose their job and it just becomes worse because of a mistake they made. So just want to make that comment. I appreciate it. Question I have, just on your expertise, it's around, there's this tension between providing citations, warnings, and you mentioned this a little bit about failure to appear. There's a lot of ATVs, we talked about earlier tonight. There's a lot of unhoused and the citations. And have you looked into like the data around like what, like is increasing fines or citations, is that a big enough deterrent, or is there other things that we really need to think about as a policy-making body?
Well, we have done that. So we updated the fine schedule.
Yep.
And I can tell you that in my experience, we didn't update them as high as some of the neighboring cities, because it is, again, a balance between getting someone's attention, imposing a sanction, but having that sanction sufficiently reasonable that they don't just blow it off. And so our challenge really, so regarding driving, people have responded well to that. They don't like it. I get it. I empathize with them. And then no one's, turned over the podium rebelling about our fines on traffic. The challenge regarding the unhoused population and shoplifting is the PR bond release. And that's mandated by state. And, it creates a revolving door. A person gets a citation, they are to appear in court, they're given a personal recognizance bond so they can leave custody, go out back into the community. They don't show up, we issue another warrant. That warrant is required to be a PR bond, although it may be an escalating amount. Nonetheless, it's required by law to be a personal recognizance bond. We have looked for the opportunity and on occasion enter orders for repeat failures to appear to become cash property surety bonds, where a person actually has to put up collateral in order to regain their liberty to get their case resolved. But the detention facilities point to the law that says they get a PR bond, and they get a PR bond whether we do it or not. So yes, I'm a data guy, and I think we should mind that and see where we're at with it. But to a great extent, that's our dilemma, is unless they are brought to the courthouse, sometimes physically, which is rare, then we're kind of at the mercy of the PR bond.
Okay. And a follow-up question to that, with the juvenile justice or juveniles in general, I know ATVs is predominantly a juvenile issue. Do you run into the same thing there with the citations, or?
No, we have good compliance when that is the written citation.
That is written, so that's a good compliance. They end up paying their fine, or is there repeat offenders?
We get
in
there.
Okay.
So, but they do respond, they do show up. It may take us several iterations of that hearing to get to a resolution, but we're not finding that's the one that they just blow us off and disappear on.
Okay, interesting. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Councilmember Kim.
Judge, you had just mentioned, as far as that's not the one they typically blow you off with, what is then?
Shoplifting.
Shoplifting, okay. Just for the record here too, I guess I saw the ATV fines, first round, it's $1,000. Second time it's court, third time it's court. And how often, I guess, are you seeing those, if at all? But I mean, it sounds like shoplifting is the main one.
It's the main one. And then for our unhoused community, it's waste, trespassing, public intoxication, related offenses. So the ATVs, we know it's happening, and when the citations come to us, we're handling them, and we have pretty good response.
Okay. So kind of related but unrelated to, just a couple days ago, I was on my city council Facebook page, right? My unofficial Facebook page for city council, and I noticed I saw for city of North Glen, congratulations, Judge Brian Bowen is now your North Glen's municipal judge.
Presiding judge.
Presiding judge, so congratulations, I guess, and I'm
Yes,
assuming
thank
that
you.
you're still in this role here with.
Absolutely.
With Commerce City? How long have you been with them officially?
Since April 1st.
April 1st, okay. And just out of curiosity too, I mean, obviously with our court schedules that we have here, has there been any impacts at all since?
Yes.
There has?
There has. So there is some overlap regarding Thursdays, and that's something I'm working on the North Glen side to move us away from that. We became I was aware of that stepping into it, but I also had assurances on the North Glen side that that was something we could work with and probably, and since I have spoken with the assistant city manager, the head of finance, the prosecuting attorneys, and we're working on it.
Okay.
What did happen is I then pivoted to our Associate Judge Dang, who is Asian Pacific and has a very interesting story to tell you if you ever have time. And she was not available that day. So I went to our other backup judges, and in that exchange, found out that Randy Davis, who's been a long time backup judge for the city, is no longer being a backup for anyone. He's retired, really retired, traveling retired. He's not available. And then Judge Goodby, who is our other backup judge, is also very recently picked up Fort Lupton and Loch Buoy, both of which on occasion are Thursday courts. His suggestion to me, and I was there before he mentioned it, was you need to expand your roster of backup judges. And so we need to do that. We need to do it immediately and on an expedited basis. Have spoken with, speaking of the city of Brighton, Judge Johnny Barajas, who is the municipal judge in the city of Brighton, and has indicated he's more than willing to work with us on a backup basis to fill in as needed when he's available, in addition to Judge Dang. And we are hoping to expand our roster so that we don't find ourselves in this position again.
So the other question I just thinking about this too, you had mentioned other judges actually do the same thing too. But are there any other municipalities that you're a part of as well, other than us in North Glen?
I'm a backup judge in the city of Westminster, and I also am a fill-in judge for the city and county of Denver, both the city court and county
Sounds
court.
like there's not enough judges out there.
Well-
Having a backup to a backup, I'm just wondering, because I mean, I just wonder, like especially for Commerce City, right? I want to make sure that we're not, because obviously we're the ones that we hired you, essentially had you on board,
Absolutely.
right, and all that. So I don't want
Yes.
to make sure that none of what it transpires is a potential that would impact, obviously, our city, and our
Right.
schedule.
I agree, and that's why we're looking to bring in additional judges. Part of what we're looking for, and in keeping with the priorities of this city, is diversity. We're also looking for young persons who would be interested in seeing if they want to be a judge, giving them the opportunity to gain some judicial experience so they can go do other things, not in any way at the expense of our court, that I believe is running quite well, but we simply need to have that. And, just as it's kind of a checkerboard. So for instance, the backup judges for North Glen are the same two judges I told you about. Judge Goodby, who now has two different cities, and Judge Davis, who's out, never going to do it again. And, he's in his 70s. He's done a great job. But so it's kind of a checkerboard. It can be a challenge, and that's where having multiple judges available to do backup is a great idea. And we tried to do that. We just found that their change in circumstances corresponded with our change. And I believe it's healthy for us to bring in judges so they're familiar with our system. You know, you want things that aren't personality driven. So if I happen to, you know, get run over by a car, and we all drive cars, anything could happen. You want people who know our system, know how to do it, and are ready to go. And I believe, as Ms. Noble mentioned, or maybe it was Ms. Douglas, you know, I'm not going to do this forever. And we want to have a strong, I guess, bullpen, for lack of a better term, but rigorous group that are ready to step in and move forward.
It makes sense. I think the, you know, just for us, again, it just comes down for me personally, it comes down to the fact that, hey, you were elected by us or appointed by us, I guess, right, to say you're the end. So I want to make sure that we're going to have you as long as you're willing to do this job, right? I feel like I'm 70 years old, but I'd be happy to be part of this process too, to understand as far as what you guys do. Maybe one day for myself, but those are all the questions I really had. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation, Judge. We really appreciate your efforts, and the defendants or folks who are charged who come through your court seem to be satisfied per your survey, so that's very important as well. It is critically important, of course, to be able to address all these things that not only affect businesses such as the shoplifting, but affect quality of life, the ATVs that were being talked about.
Exactly.
So trying to find a balance on our part is, I think, behind a lot of the questions too. Is there something more that we could be doing that would address these issues?
Well, and this week, at the end of the week, I'm going to one of the municipal judge conferences, and that's a great opportunity to turn to the judge next to you and say, what are you doing about this? And find out things that maybe we hadn't even contemplated. Yeah, I'm open to that. Let's find some answers and let's get it done.
Yeah, that would be great. And coming back to us about that would be terrific, because you're the SME, the subject matter expert, right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Take that.
And yeah,
I've been called a lot of things. I've never been called a SME.
Never a SME?
But I'll take it.
That's a business world thing. And to follow up on Councilmember Kim's questions, how often, so the court in Commerce City meets twice a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
And then how many weeks per year?
So periodically, we have a week when we don't meet here in Commerce City. The North Glen Court will meet 5 times a month, and those are on different days. And we'll be moving some of those over to those other days. But our city's about 4 times as large as North Glen. North Glen's landlocked. But you know, we had 8,000 citations last year, and North Glen had 6. So part of it is how policing is occurring. These 2 positions will mean I'm less available to work with other cities and help. But this city is a priority. March 7th, I was at Kemp School reading to fourth graders. You know, so my wife went to school here. I had my office here for 15 years before I went to work for state. So my commitment is here.
Right, so there's, back to that question that I just asked, with 52 weeks in the year, how many weeks is our court in session?
I believe it's 50.
50?
I believe our court administrator's here. 49.
49, okay. And I was on the panel when you were first hired, so we're very glad you're here. But there was also this lovely attorney who spoke Spanish, who wanted to be a judge, who had never been a judge.
Right.
And I hope that you can talk with her HR people to go back and track her down.
Right.
Because she seemed to have the same mentality as you do in approaching these cases, but she lacked the experience to be our full-time municipal court judge.
And does not reside in the county.
Pardon me?
And does not reside in the county, which is one of the city's requirements.
Oh, you have to live in the county.
It's the city's requirement.
Oh, I see the challenge.
Checkerboard.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
I'll make this quick, but I remember interviewing you, Judge Bowen, and you have done exactly what you said you were going to do when you interviewed, and I just thank you for that. Meeting people where they are, as Councilmember Dukes pointed out, is so crucial to serving this community, and I just want to thank you for putting your money where your mouth was or is, and doing the job that we hired you for. So thank you so much, and I'll leave it at that and hope to see you in passing.
Thank you. My last comment before I leave is you are incredibly well-served by your city attorney and city manager. I cannot tell you how impressed I am watching them guide the city, and the rare occasion I have to interact with them, it's been incredibly empowering, and they do a good job for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Wait, Judge. I just want to tell you thank you for all your
take
work
it.
you've done and being due diligence with the fines and all, because
Yes.
we do have issues. And some may seem minor. And I just had a question as far as like, when you say a day where people could come in and have a fresh start,
Yes.
does that work with code enforcement? Or is that,
It would be any case that's before this court.
okay, all right, okay.
But I'll tell you, if somebody wants to engage a code enforcement case, we'll talk to them.
Okay. All right, appreciate that. Thank you for
Thank you
for
so
what you
much.
do. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Okay.
He was in a hurry there. All right. Okay, on to consent agenda. The consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. These items are presented to council in a single motion, single vote, sorry. Any member of council may ask to remove a specific item off the consent agenda for further discussion and separate vote. Tonight, there are 6 items on the consent agenda. Do any council members wish to remove any items? Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Ordinance 2681, please.
2681? Okay. All right, any other council members? Okay. Need a motion second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Councilmember Chacon.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Okay. Councilmember Douglas. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I don't believe I was in the queue.
I'll second that. All right. Motion and second to approve agenda as amended. Okay, will the city clerk read the titles? Read the titles, take a roll call vote, please. Sorry about that.
Ordinance 2670, an ordinance amending the 2025 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by appropriating unencumbered fund balance in the general fund in the amount of $300,000 for use on community events, including specified interfund transfers and authorization of the expenditures thereof. Resolution 2025-051, a resolution authorizing the city manager to negotiate a First Amendment to the Master Services Agreement for mechanical repair services for the city buildings with Bronkier Plumbing and Heating Company Incorporated. Resolution 2025-058, a resolution authorizing award of an intergovernmental agreement to implement the city's ACT Workforce Development Pathway Program. Resolution 2025-059, a resolution in support of the city's participation in the Rocky Mountain Partnership's Cradle to Career Program as a regional target champion. Resolution 2025-060, a resolution authorizing an amendment to participating addendum between CDW Government LLC and the City of Commerce City to the NASPO Value Point Software Value Added Reseller Master Agreement. Your vote is open. Sorry, let's do that one more time. Thank you.
Okay, that passed unanimously with 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. Okay, on to the pulled consent agenda item. Ordinance 2681, requests Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much. Yes, I had a question about this one because it's a $1.5 million contract for red light camera van. We had approved red light cameras, and this adds a red light camera van at $8,600 a month for 60 months. And what I was looking for is justification for adding the red light camera van, and that justification to also include how many accidents occur because of folks running red lights in Commerce City.
Yes, ma'am. So I will start with your first question about adding the red light ban. This was a discussion as part of the Safe Street Initiative that was adopted as part of the 2025 budget. So back when the budget was opened on September 16th, then carried forward on October 21st, we had identified a breakout of a number of different opportunities. In that, it spoke about a radar van, which is a speed radar van, not necessarily a red light van, which would be under the American Traffic Solutions, or ATS, is who we've worked through on a yearly basis, in the provision of the red light camera at the intersection of 60th and 85-6, so Vasquez. So what we identified at the time was the 1-year estimate of $142,000 for a radar van, which was a cost of a VHE that would operate the vehicle as well as the equipment itself. So what you see as far as this $1.4 million contract is over a 5-year period, and as of which the vehicle in itself is estimated for this year, because we won't bring it online till the middle of this year, so June, July's timeframe of around $68,000. And then obviously how we appropriate, while a contract as we typically do, since previously we weren't at a stage to lease this equipment. So in that essence, we typically have gone through a resolution to approve a contract. But by ordinance, when it's a long-term lease, or by charter, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, and I may be wrong, we approve long-term leases, whether it is equipment or property, through an ordinance. So we had to amend the contract to build out this initiative that while we appropriate on the annual, it's across multiple years. So while we were estimating $142,000 for year 1, it's actually coming in lower at 68, but then it gains back over an entirety of the year as we would appropriate for 2026, 27, 28, 29, to which you find in the ordinance where the radar van itself will be around 510,000, while we also then have the existing red light camera that we have at Vasquez and 60th, that will then be the remaining balance. Within that, knowing with the environment that we're living in, there is an inflation of 3% put on top so that we then do not have to come back and amend the actual appropriated dollars going forward. And it will then take into, this contract will then take into account what that maximum would be over a 5-year period without having to amend that dollar amount, which is what we've run into in the past where a dollar amount may be set at $1 million, and then ultimately we come at the 11th hour and find that we're over by 150,000 to 200. While it's appropriated, the contract has created a ceiling to which we have to come back and get your authority. So we've also have predicted what that cap would be by 2029, and that's what you find before you today.
Okay, so the radar van will be assessing speed, and there will only be one red light camera, and that's the one at 60th?
60th and Vasquez as a.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't make that turn.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. All right. Because of the amount of money, to put that amount of money on consent calendar always gives me agita. So I just wanted to bring it out so we could have the discussion. Thank you very much.
Very fair question. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other council members have questions on this? Councilmember Kim?
I will also second the knowing where that camera light is at because I got a ticket from there recently.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
I just have a quick question. Was this something you went out and sought, or was this something that was brought to you as a service?
So this was raised during the budget workshop. If I may, Councilmember Duke had made a request for us to come back ultimately when we had the budget workshop in September to bring ideas around a Safe Streets initiative. You all as council supported that through by consensus. Sorry, wrong pipe. And as such, we identified things from actual policing initiatives, education campaigning, as well as looking at furthering the Vision Zero safety action plan, which came to a total of, like I said, 381,000. Some components were 3,000, others were 232, and this happened to be 142 for a radar van.
Okay, good. Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other council members? Thank you, City Manager Rogers. I recall having this conversation, and I thought we're looking at 2 vans at the time.
I'd have to go back and just look at the tape, Mayor. I think the only thing I can speak confidently to it was the total dollar amount that got added to the budget for this year.
Okay.
Like I said, I haven't looked into the specific details of a radar van and a VHE. Like I said, right now we are slated for 1. If there's, like I said, it doesn't hurt for us to just double check it and make sure. But like I said, I can only speak to my recollection right now, Mayor.
Okay. So I know we approved drones as well, so I know this is not part of that, but.
Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no others, Councilmember Dukes, do you have one more?
I did. Just going back to the 2 vans, it's always been my understanding there's been 1 van based on the budget approval. If we want to, we can add more if we think about budget for next year, because I think this is a critical piece of the Safe Streets initiative. As we talked about having education, community involvement, and then ultimately enforcement. So it may put a plug in to say maybe we need another van in the near future. We think about our budget for next year.
Councilmember Teeter.
I agree 100% with Councilmember Dukes. Last time we got that van, it was kept busy just down here in the southern area. And now we're a split city, so we definitely need one in the north and one in the south. And I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. Seeing none, we're ready for the motion.
We still need a motion in a
Yes,
second.
we're ready for motion. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
I'll make the motion to approve this ordinance. Oh, I'll make the motion to approve this ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Teeter.
Second the motion.
All right. Any more discussion? Okay,
Ordinance 2681, an ordinance authorizing the lease of equipment, including mobile speed units, and the execution by the city of a master services agreement with American Traffic Solutions Incorporated, doing business as Vera Mobility, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement, setting forth parameters and restrictions, and providing for the other related matters. Your vote is open.
yeah, that passes 8 yeses and one excuse absence. Okay, on to a resolution approving contracts for mill and overlay services. Do any council members have questions for staff? I have a question. Oh, Councilmember Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at the map and I noticed that there are just like little red lines there. Just want to know exactly which areas.
Yep, we will get that for you. City Manager Rogers is going to hand out a list.
Thank
There
you.
are more copies than you need there, sir. So there are 2 charts on this sheet. The first chart is the base bid. That is the work that is included in the contract. And then the smaller chart with the 2 alternatives would be added in if 1, funding allows, and 2, timing allows at the end of the original contract. We have plenty of funding available, so assuming we don't have an early winter, we should be able to add the 2 alternatives in as well.
Thank you.
Ms. Hahn, are these like the high priority areas I'm looking at? Specifically, I'm looking at the southern end, right? So line number 8. nine.
So every year, our mill and overlay program, as well as the rest of our pavement management areas, are selected based on pavement condition index that we keep an eye on, so quality of the road, and then also vehicles traveled per day.
That answers my question. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely.
Any other council members? Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, I went out this afternoon and was looking at those places that need repaired on the south end of the district, and you missed one. We got a big problem between 70th Avenue and Olive Street up to 67th Place. And it's worse than anything that you have on your list. It's only, it's 1,600 feet long, but it's in bad shape. I don't know why they didn't do it when they did Olive Street. I believe they did Olive last year.
We can certainly take a look at it and talk to the city manager about the possibility of adding additional areas if that's the direction of the body here.
Yeah, because it's a lot worse than the areas that you have on your map. It got missed.
We will look into it. Thank you.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. Just thank you for this list and in the map itself. I just a request that as you're going through these projects, if there's a way to communicate it to the community to say, this is happening, these are a lot of things that are taking place across the city, and we do hear this a lot, and so it'd be great to celebrate like we're taking care of our roads.
Absolutely. I do try to include that in our city manager week in review updates. But if there is an alternative method of communications, we are all ears.
Yeah, I mean, I would, again, just sharing it, social media, like things that really highlight us moving forward. I think it's great to put it in the weekly review, but really celebrating like this is, we're taking care of the
Absolutely.
meat and potatoes of the city, so.
We love being able to celebrate small wins, so it's a good suggestion.
City Manager Rogers?
Thank you, Mayor. I just think for a point of information for you all, obviously, we're more than willing to include any identified roadways that you all have heard from the broader community that may not have been covered in this base. I would say as you move forward with taking action on this, you may want to make a motion of what you would like to see be included as part of that motion, subject to what we have already currently budgeted. If not so, obviously we would have to come back before you all to make a budget appropriation to increase said line. But I would simply say, if there is a desire by the body to do so, your time is to do that when you want to make a motion to include said roads, and we will then work out the math with what we have budgeted, or if we need more to accomplish that.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Teeter?
Yeah, when it's ready for a motion, I would like to amend the motion to include that Olive Street from 67th Place up to 70th Avenue, which is 0.3 miles of roadway that needs to be milled and redone.
Any other council members? Councilmember Ford?
I'll second that.
Well, it's not a motion yet. There's still discussion. He said when the motion is ready, he would do that. Councilmember Duke, do you have some roads to add?
No roads to add, but I agree with the addition to Councilmember Teeters as we talk through it.
Okay. All right. I have been talking with CDOT about the southern end of Commerce City. It deals with, let's see, Brighton Boulevard. And then as Brighton Boulevard goes down to York Street, those are actually CDOT's property. And Jen Hahn, she has been meeting with them just to highlight if there's any issues with the IGA or so, if this city was proactive in filling potholes or getting them to fill the potholes in those areas that are concerned, because they're really bad down there, especially Old Mill Road, because it's all dirt by the railroad. I did submit some photos and areas of concerns to City Manager Rogers. And then one, there is also a couple. One is at the intersection 104th and Tower, which on this list here, it says Tower Road and 104th to 120th. So that's going to be totally mill and overlay?
That is correct, and we're aware that the striping conditions out there are less than ideal right now. Frankly, our different contractor tried 3 different times last year and never met city standards, so we put a pause on that, and we're going to mill and overlay and address it with this new contractor this summer.
Okay. Now, I highlight to City Manager Rogers that at the intersection last year, they added asphalt.
Yep.
As you're going northbound 104th to actually change the way as you go north into the intersection from pre-merging over, which caused a lot of accident, people just, right?
Correct. The asphalt was not installed to correct standards or correct length, so we're working to address that, which
Okay.
is why we have to go through the whole mill and overlay. Striping
Sure.
just wouldn't be a safe solution, so.
All right.
You know, it's not ideal. Apologize for the delay, but it is on the radar for this year to get it fixed.
Okay, so that's going to address.
Yep, we will take care of that.
Also on southbound on Tower and 104th, there's a huge asphalt patch that was redone, but there's still a huge dip.
Great.
And at the time that they fixed that, they didn't address to make sure that was smooth. Is that something we could add to the list as well?
We will look into that, yes. City Manager Rogers provided that exhibit that you shared, so we know exactly where it is, which is very helpful.
And the other exhibit is on Highway 2 between 96 and 88th, is the utility manhole covers. Over time, they tend to drop.
Yeah, so I will reach out to the Water District tomorrow morning so we can begin coordinating that effort.
Okay, so that's something they would be
That
able to do?
would be their manholes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good to know.
But we
All
can
right.
facilitate the conversation. We have a great relationship with Able, so happy to spearhead that conversation.
Okay, appreciate that. All right. Councilmember Teeter.
Yes. But are you ready for a motion, or?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I move for approval of Resolution 2025-023 as amended with the addition of the 67th Place and Olive Street up to 70th Avenue in Olive, which is approximately 1,600 feet extra.
So it's 67th Avenue from Holly Street?
It's 67th Place and Olive Street up to 70th Avenue, which is approximately 1,600 feet.
Okay, Councilmember Dukes?
I second that.
Okay. All right, so Councilmember Teeter's motion is to look at mill and overlay from 67th Place to Olive Street up to 70th Avenue, correct?
And no, the motion was to approve the whole plan.
Well, this is additional,
Add
yes.
that, yes.
Right. So the resolution to approve the contract for mill and overlay services. In addition, is to do a mill and overlay at 67th Place up to Olive,
Up to 70th.
up to 70th Avenue. City Manager Rogers, is that right?
That is what I heard, Mayor. I may be jumping the gun, but I didn't know if you were going to be offering what you share with me as well as an additional.
All right. Could I do a friendly amendment to add on what I presented to City Manager Rogers, those other conditions,
Sure.
those other examples?
And whatever you just said.
Councilmember Dukes, those were to address 104th, intersection 104th in Tower. As you go through the intersection, you'll have, you should travel north, people squeeze down, right? And they're rallying to get over. They're already gonna fix that. They started this last year. And this will clean it up because they're gonna actually do a mill and overlay all the way from Tower to 120th. And then the other one is the manhole covers on Highway 2. And then the patch, when you go southbound on 104th and Tower, on the inside lane, there's probably a patch about the size of this table.
Just want to make sure it's on the motion.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
So my understanding is that, this contract is a result of an RFP. The scope of that RFP did not include what the proposed motion is contemplating. So my recommendation would be, I don't want to speak for Public Works by any means. I just don't know if the contractor could actually do what this council is proposing at a reasonable price for the city, because it would be a change in work that wasn't baked into their original bid in the RFP.
Sure.
So I think the cleanest thing to do would be to either approve or deny the resolution. And then to the extent that council is interested in expanding that scope, working with city staff to determine, one, if the contractor is able to do it, whether or not that is something that is, available within the scope of the contract, or if a different RFP would need to follow.
Okay.
In other words, I just don't recommend
No, I
council
understand.
revising the scope of an award that came as a result of an RFP.
May I ask who the contractor is for this? Who was rewarded this contract?
Oh, gosh.
Martin Marietta.
We're going to have to check on that. I apologize.
Martin Marietta Materials?
Oh, right here, okay.
Oh,
Sorry about
it's
that.
in front of me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I just saw that too. All right. Okay, well, we'll go with the,
So we can certainly ask the contractor what a price would be, to city attorney's
Sure.
point, but if it were not a fair price, then we'd want to go back out to bid, which is an option, absolutely.
okay, would you come back and let us know that we could ask to appropriate the right funds?
We will keep you apprised, yes.
Okay, and just for a note, that 70th Avenue, they're doing both sides of 70th Avenue and Olive, so they're gonna be right there when they're doing it, within 100 feet, so.
We will certainly see what they come back with price-wise and go from there. We certainly want the best bang for our buck in addition to getting the work done.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I'm clear, or I don't want us to go back out. I don't want to delay the street overlays if we can move forward. And I think having another bid separate makes sense to me. Anything that we do, I still want to delay what's already been improved, what's already been processed by adding on, because it's going to push us out, and we're going to run into issues, whether it's weather, whether it's workers, et cetera, et cetera. So is there a way to move forward with this, but also have a discussion with the city manager around, here are some additional things we'd like to see. Maybe it's this year, but another bid next year. But anything that we can do to make it clean so it doesn't stop this progress.
Yes. The simple question is yes. We can move forward with this. You all, whether it is, what's probably cleaner would be under administrative council business, making another motion seeking to take the additional roadways that were discussed today and to bring that back through an appropriate process once we're able to determine the dollar amounts from a formal RFP process as outlined by my good man to my left. So
For just those projects, is that correct?
just for those additional roadways that were raised today.
Yeah, and I hope that just makes sense to the body, like we're able to move forward, but then also have another process that's really clean and clear about additional work. It's important for me, and it's also important for our residents that we get this done, because this is one of the top priorities for a lot of people, to get the work done with the roads, so.
And if I may, that is exactly what we did with 2024 crack repair, right? So you all approved an initial contract, that was phase one, and then you approved another contract for 2024 phase two. So we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, because there's always two phases of this, as it was last year.
Not always, but often, yes. So we can adjust accordingly. But yes, we would be very appreciative if we're able to get started at least on this work here soon.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so we're going to go with, Councilmember Teeter.
Yes.
We're going to restate your motion doing council administrative business. So we're going to go with the first motion. City Attorney Zarzaki, is that okay? To take this one off the table, or should we?
I think what you can do is make a motion as to whether or not you're approving this resolution.
Okay.
And that's it. And then
All right.
in administrative council business, have the separate conversation.
Okay. All right, we're going to go forward with this resolution as it is. Need a resolution approving contract for mill overlay services. Do any council members, or any other questions? Need a motion and a second? Councilmember Teeter.
I move to approve Resolution 2025-023.
Councilmember Kim.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Kim, any question? No. All right. Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve resolution approving a contract for mill overlay services. City clerk, take a roll call vote, please.
Resolution 2025-023, a resolution authorizing award of Martin Marietta Materials Incorporated construction contract agreement for roadway, mill, and overlay services. Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8 with 1 excused absence. On to ordinance. First reading, ordinance 2672, Code of Ethics. We'll invite City Attorney Zarzaki to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be brief on this. As you all recall, I did a presentation outlining the proposed draft ethics code. You all have in your packet that draft code. I'm certainly here and available to answer any substantive questions that you have about said draft, but I did want to highlight sort of what the next steps are if council were to approve this on first reading this evening, primarily because there's a number of minor things that would need to follow. First, in the draft ethics code, there's a creation of an independent ethics council that is an attorney licensed to practice in Colorado. There are other requirements baked into the code, but I would work with all of you to identify candidates for that independent ethics council that would ultimately need to be approved by this body. Also, similarly, to identify a hearing officer in the event that there was a hearing on an alleged ethics violation. I would recommend that we have a hearing officer under contract on call so that you're not scrambling, we're not scrambling to find someone after the fact. Additionally, there will be a requirement to revise council policy 14, which is currently the ethics policy that lives in council policy. If this body moves this forward, I would draft a resolution. Well, actually, first I would work with your Policy and Governance Committee to schedule a meeting. I would recommend that we delete CP 14 so that there's not confusing duplicative language in the council policy as it relates to the code. And also, there's language in Exhibit A of CP 25 that I would recommend is stricken because it would be duplicative as well if the code is moved forward as it is currently drafted. So I will stop there. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
In looking through it, I am curious if you could identify at least 3 of the major changes from the city council's own ethics process.
Sure.
Which we spent a great deal of time on and did research with CML, with the state of Colorado's ethics board.
Yes.
And with other cities.
Sure. So that's a great question. So substantively, there's not a great deal of change as it relates to what constitutes an ethics violation, right? So I think that's one thing to really highlight. Who it applies to is very different. So as it currently stands, it lives in council policy. And as I said in my presentation previously, it is not clear if that council policy applies to employees, officers, and officials. And my strong recommendation is to codify it so it is applicable to everyone that works for the city. That's one thing. Additionally, the way that this draft is set up, it bakes in to the process an opportunity for an advisory opinion through the city attorney's office. And the value there is, the hope is that you have a cultural creation where individuals that think that if they take an action, it might be a problem, they actually reach out to my office to seek an advisory opinion prior to ever doing the thing that could eventually get them into trouble, right? So you have an advisory opinion process that's created now in this code that's not in the ethics policy under the council policies. Additionally, there's a creation of an independence ethics council. Substantively, that's not much different than what you all had. I believe you called it a third-party magistrate. It is very similar in nature. When you get to the hearing process, however, there is a difference. And that distinction is the independent ethics council would represent the city in front of a hearing officer as opposed to a third-party magistrate. It's the same thing. A third-party magistrate right now under the council policy would have that hearing in front of city council, and the city council would be acting as sort of the quasi-judicial body. There are municipalities that do it both ways. My recommendation is to have that be a hearing officer. One, it wouldn't suck up council's time to have a hearing on an ethics code violation. Also, it reduces the burden of you all having to be a quasi-judicial body making decisions on one of your co-elected council members. at the end of a hearing, the hearing officer effectively makes a recommendation that comes to city council. So you are all making the recommendation, but you're not acting as the court. Yes.
Thank you. My time is running short.
Sure.
Is there still a time limit to when someone can make their
Yes.
complaint filing?
There is. There
And
is.
do they have to, is there veracity, are they signing something to attest?
They are specifically signing something to attest. The language is slightly different than the verification language that is currently in the council policy. And I believe it's 180 days. The complaint has to be about an action that's within 180 days. I will pull the specific language.
Which is 6 months versus 1 month in the council policy.
Correct.
So I guess that's what, I have an issue with the length. Why did you pick 6 months instead of a shorter amount of time, even 3 months?
Sure, and it's open for suggestions if you all want something different. It is the language that some other municipalities, Brighton, I believe, is one in particular that has adopted this format with an independent ethics council and a hearing officer. That's where the language came from.
Okay, but if someone is making a claim against someone, and this is particularly about a city council, in fact, that someone could come to the podium regularly, twice a month for 6 months before they file the report, it would be best if there was a time limit so that they have to get it in. If they say it happened, they need to attest to the fact that it happened, they need to give the evidence, and it's all done anonymously, correct?
Yes, and
Yes.
I have no strong feelings against council changing the 180 days.
Okay, I will be recommending that. Thank you.
Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, City Attorney. I just want to, just a comment. Thanks for taking the time to do the due diligence and walk through what I believe is a more current and relevant ethics code. You laid out a clear process, and it's you laid out who can be involved in this ethics code, and it just gives a level of clarity that I think was missing in the prior code. So I want to thank you for the time. I know this has been part of your project since probably day one, and I just a comment to say appreciate the work and the
My
effort in
pleasure.
that.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, I personally think it should have that 6 months in there just for the mere fact that you may have a council person that comes close to being called on an issue, but then you let it pass. And then the next month, another issue comes up and they come close again. And then you let it pass. And then the next month, it happens again. And then you say, it's time to file. And so for that reason, I think it should be 6 months.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
City Attorney Zarzeki, would the complaint be based upon accumulation or incident? So let's say we use the council member's example, and someone behaves in a certain way 3 months in a row. Is it cumulative, or could it also be the third month is, since it's the same incident, the third month becomes the point at which the person decides to file a complaint for violation?
Interesting question. I would say the clock would start when the incident took place. So for this example, right, incident 1 takes place and 7 months pass, but within those 7 months, another incident passes in the 4th month. So the clock starts for the second incident, and there's still 6 months. I think there's an opportunity for the Independent Ethics Council to review that complaint so long as it's not frivolous. I do want to highlight one thing that's really important. So Council Policy 25, I believe, is the process that lays out complaints. That process will still be available for the non-ethics complaints issues. So I think some of the things that we might be contemplating are actually conduct issues that would still have that limitation for a complaint to be filed. The 6 months as it applies to ethics violations are pretty egregious acts, right? So taking money, right? Or agreeing to things for personal gain, use of confidential information for personal gain. These are things that are much more egregious than, sort of the unprofessional sort of conduct or disrespectful conduct that someone might file a complaint against a council member under CP 25.
And would that kind of thing still be within this? It was in the council policies.
No.
Disrepute or disrespectful?
None of that would be in the ethics policy, in the ethics code at all.
Okay,
No.
but it would remain in the council policy.
Correct. And that's one of the things that I would like to have a conversation with the Policy and Governance Committee on.
Yes,
So the
'cause-
scope of the ethics code is much more limited.
That makes sense. Okay, so, I mean, the city really hasn't had an ethics code for the city itself, so it's good that we're doing this. We thank you
Yes.
for doing that. We had only dealt with it on the city council level, and that was kind of by gosh and by golly. So this will be good, and I would like to see the standards remain in the council policy as well for things that are different for city council members who are elected versus
Absolutely.
staff.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2672 by council seated and approved on first reading. Councilmember Teeter.
I move for the introduction of ordinance 2672 by council as seated and
Councilmember
approved on the
Ford.
first reading.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay. The motion on the floor is to introduce ordinance 2672 by council seated and approved on first reading. Will the city clerk read the title and take a roll call vote, please?
Ordinance 2672, an ordinance repealing sections 2-4301 through 2-4303 of the Commerce City Revised Municipal Code and adding a new section, Article 6 of Chapter 2 to the CCRMC to consolidate and codify a code of ethics for the city of Commerce City. Your vote is open. Sorry, I
Zero,
think I
passes
pushed
one.
close too quickly. I'm going to reopen that vote.
Vote fails. What? You want to close it and start over again? Thank you.
Thank you. One more time. Thank you.
All right, that passes 8 with 1 excused absence. Okay, on to administrative council business. Do any council members have administrative council business items, emergency, unforeseen circumstances? Councilmember Chacon.
I wanted to mention the trip this past weekend. Should I do that now or?
You do
for-
that in reports.
No, I'll do that reports then. Just kidding. Forgive me.
Councilmember Kim.
Thank you. So I have two things I want to bring up tonight. Obviously, the one that we did receive an email on from a teacher, so I'll just go ahead and read this off. With eager young minds, a group of ambitious fourth and fifth graders embarked on an extraordinary journey. They became part of the Destination Imagine, an innovative STEAM-based program that not only fueled their imagination, but also fostered their creativity, critical thinking, and teamwork. For an entire school year, these dedicated children and their parent sponsors met twice a week, pouring nearly 100 hours of their time into solving intricate engineering challenges. They willingly set aside their screens and personal interests, learning how to collaborate with peers they might not have otherwise interacted with. Through this inspiring process, they developed essential life skills such as problem solving, communication, and collaboration, all while pursuing a common goal that emphasized creativity over self-interest. Their hard work and commitment paid off when they captured their first place at the regional competition, a feat that was further highlighted when they received the prestigious Renaissance Award. This honor is bestowed upon those who demonstrate an exceptional level of effort and preparation in engineering, design, or performance. With their spirits high, the team carried on to the Colorado State competition, where they proudly secured 4th place out of 13 competing teams, earning them the opportunity to present their innovative solutions at the global finals. This marked a historic milestone for their school. It was the first time a team had qualified for such a prestigious event. However, amid changes in district funding and uncertainties about the program's future, this may be the final chance for these talented kids to participate in Destination Imagine. To attend the global finals, the team must raise a total of $10,000 to cover registration fees, travel expenses, accommodations, and meals. As they embark on this crucial fundraising journey, they are actively seeking support from local businesses and organizations, and obviously the government. Every donation, no matter its size, will play a significant role in helping these young innovators present their award-winning solution on a global stage. Thus, my motion is to allocate $2,000 to support this remarkable team and their educational pursuit. By providing this funding, we will not only empower these dedicated children to chase their dreams, but also affirm our commitment to nurturing the bright minds of our community. Please know we got this email about 24 hours ago, and I actually wrote this all up, so. That's my motion.
We received an email?
Sorry?
We received an email?
Yeah, you guys got the email too, didn't you? Oh, sorry, my apologies.
No, hold on, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. So my motion is to request that we allocate $2,000 support this team to have them move forward into the global finals, and also basically to help them rate with this effort in raising the 10 grand.
Okay. Councilmember Teeter.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Noble, do you have a discussion?
No, I was seconding.
All right. I dropped off the calendar there. Okay. You want to restate your motion there, since it was a lengthy one?
Requesting to allocate $2,000 of the city's funds to support the STEAM.
Thank you.
Team. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Your vote is open.
Thank you.
I have one more.
Okay, that passes unanimously 8 with 1 excused absence. Okay, Councilmember Kim.
One last one. So earlier today, we heard from Mr. Bullock, Renee Bullock, coming up regarding the passing of Casey Hayes, a former mayor of our city. And I know there was a request out there, and I know probably not some folks may know him, but some folks like myself don't know him. However, as it was stated, he was city's mayor at one point. God rest his soul. My motion is to request that we provide some form of donation or some form of, whether it's flowers or whatever the case is, to Mrs. Hayes. Not sure about what the dollar amount would be on that, but on behalf of the city and city council.
Is that a motion, or?
That is
It's a motion. Councilmember Teeter?
Yeah, I'll second that also. And,
All right.
and I got stuff to add to that.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Councilmember Teeter?
Just, I believe Casey Hayes was one of the original charter signers for the city of Commerce City way back in the day. And I also believe he was on council way back in the day when they did that charter. And then in the 90s, I know my second term, I served with him for 4 years as mayor. And he was a pretty honorable guy, pretty good guy. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Kim?
You know, I gotta say, you know, even though I didn't know him, right, or maybe some of us didn't know him at all, at the end of the day, obviously, we all got elected for, and one day we're all gonna pass. It's gonna happen. It's unfortunate, right? So I mean, one day somebody's not gonna know who the hell is Craig Kim, right? I mean, but he was on city council, right? So it's gonna happen. So even for us to be able to provide some form of respect, some form of honor for those that actually served our city, I think makes perfect sense. It's a, you know, so I'm happy to make this motion.
Okay. Councilmember Dukes, did you have something to say to this?
No, I have a separate one.
Councilmember Ford, did you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. No, I happen to agree with Councilmember Kim. And with Mr. Teeter. Casey was an original charter member of the city. And I got to serve for 4 years under his leadership as mayor. Didn't always agree with Mayor Hayes, but he did a lot. He put a lot of effort into trying to move this community forward. And just because of the time that he served and what his intentions were to help this community, I absolutely agree that we need to be respectful of the fact that he was a mayor and did a lot for the city. It was Casey Hayes that actually made the ordinance of no ice cream trucks were allowed in the city of Commerce City. And the reason was because Casey's, I believe it was his daughter or granddaughter, got hit by an ice cream truck. And ended up making an ordinance that the city would not allow any ice cream trucks in the city limits. We have since lifted that and allow ice cream trucks. However, that was one of the things that Casey, and he loved trains, and he wanted a train park so people could sit and watch the trains down by Suncor, which I didn't think it was a good place for a train park, but you know, trains and kids don't usually go well together. But he was a good person, and he meant well, and I think we should make sure that we respect him as a past mayor and make sure that there is either a wreath or flowers or something recognizing that the city gives condolences to his family.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I just want to say that I had the pleasure of knowing Casey, and he didn't treat me like an outsider, although I was new to Commerce City, and I really liked him. So I was sad to hear about his passing, and I'm glad we're honoring him.
Thank you. Any other council members? Yes, condolences to Casey Hayes' family, and I say Casey, I got to know him as well, and quite the character, but I do appreciate his serving as mayor for the city of Commerce City. That says a lot, because this is where we're at now based on Casey Hayes' efforts. So, thank you. All right. Okay, we're ready.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes unanimously, 8 with 1 excused absence. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you doing that, Councilmember Kim. I had that on my list as well. I wanted to let everyone know that when we were in Washington, D.C., the Army representative that we met with said that while the arsenal remediation was the most expensive in U.S. history, that there was going to be one that was going to exceed it. That was reported on in the New York Times. It is 10,000 acres of farmland in South Carolina. farmers accepted fertilizer made of a textile mill's sewage sludge that was laden with PFAS. Needless to say, that is a big mess, and if you're talking about something that's even a more expensive cleanup than the arsenal has been, it's really something that's hard to wrap your mind around. But it also gives notice to all of us here that things that are used and have been used without regard for safety can lead to disastrous results. So being vigilant about those impacts is really quite important. I also wanted to just ask about the status of the substation. I drove by when I was picking up a Starbucks and peeked in the windows, and I didn't see anything happening, and I wondered what's going to be going on there.
So, thank you, ma'am. We're currently still working through the permitting for that facility. We're near the tail end of that, so once we get through that, we should start to see a lot of activity within that space, and hopefully 3 to 4 months. Don't hold me on that. That's what my hope is. But right now, there's some things that we're responding to from our architect back to requirements with various building codes. But I would like to think we're near that finish line so that we can go into the next stage.
Okay, there is an irony in that a city's own project is still waiting on permits. Are there issues? What's the length of time that it takes to get through the process?
I wouldn't say necessary issues. It's just response to comments. Irony, I can appreciate the irony. But I think there has just been some, once again, just general communication that we're working on with respect to making sure that we're holding our own projects to the same level that we're holding those in the private sector. And as such, we have one, I believe, of many competing projects with our architect, but we are pushing both on the architect side as well as our staff side so that we can get that facility to the next stage.
Okay, that's great. And while I have everyone here on this topic, I'll just bring up that I learned at the end of last week that Taku Sushi is actually getting its permits on Friday, its final building permit, and the sushi restaurant next to Poorhouse will in fact be opening, I think, this year. Would that be safe to say, or is that going out on a limb?
You know what? I'm willing to say that's safe to say, but I'm still going to knock on some wood.
All right, everybody knock on wood. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Douglas. Councilmember Teeter.
Yes, we're under administrative business, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. I would like to bring up that issue on Olive Street again. And since we're going to be within 100 feet of that location, and since it's that one of the biggest part of the bid is getting the equipment to the location while they're there, I would like to, if possible, include that section into this motion. And you want me to read this?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion directing the city manager to look into the execution of the contracts or change orders necessary to perform additional mill and overlay work on the identified road segments in compliance with city procedure, policies, and within approved budgetary limits. Sounds good.
Councilmember Ford. Okay. All right, the motion is to direct city manager to look into an executive, me slow down here. The motion is to direct the city manager to look into execution of contracts or change orders necessary to perform additional mill and overlay work on identified road segments and compliance with the city procurement policy and within approved budgetary limits. Any discussion?
You already got it.
Okay.
First and second.
All right. Go on, just ask, discuss.
Mayor Douglas, how do you vote on this item?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That passes 8 with the one excused absence. Now, this was also the additional work that I included on there as well. So that's what he read. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. All right. Councilmember Dukes, did you have something? Okay. All right, we're rolling here. Okay, City Manager Rogers, please provide your weekly report.
Thank you, Mayor. Before jumping into that, I'd like to bring up the work schedule, just kind of looking out with respect to regular meetings into June. And I'd like to give a kudos very quickly to Kim and Brittany. This is their first run without our city clerk, and they've done a wonderful job.
Better than Dylan.
All right, hold it.
So in the past meeting, I think we'll just kick it off with the 19th, and then we'll go to June. May 19th, we have obviously proclamation declaring June 2025 as LGBTQ Pride Month. We currently have ordinance 2672 that was heard today, as well as 26675 that will be heard for first time, which is a recognition. Going a little too fast for me. I can't read that fast. Recognition of off-system bridge program grant in the amount of $720,000 for Tower Road over Third Creek. We also then have a budget amendment for national disaster mitigation. You may remember I sent you all an email. That is $300,000 with respect to dealing with wildfire mitigation. We also have an amendment for grants and donations carryover. We have an amendment of, once again, carrying over funds from the Metro Football Stadium District. That is in relation to the sale of the Broncos from a couple of years ago. We also have what was heard on first reading today around ATS. We have a resolution awarding preliminary design contract for 120th in the U.S. interchange, 85 interchange. We have a discussion around 2025 concrete flat work, just for a little bit of more clarification of that. What we understood was that with the increase in scope and change of, in the cost of materials has required us to come back before you all. I would say if there's anything similar to the process that we did here today with mill and overlay, we would follow suit with any changes towards that program. We also then have a draft title for a contract with Zoom. We all love Zoom. We use Zoom on the day-to-day basis. And then we have a discussion on a Metro District fee update. Once again, you all have adopted Metro District regulations. The moratorium is no longer in place. We have done our due diligence, and we will be bringing to you all the projected fee schedule for us to implement, taking in new applications based on your regulations under Title 13 of the Municipal Code. That currently has us slated at 9:15, knowing that there may be questions in and around the fee itself that would go into our city directory fees. We have slated that for an hour's worth of discussion. Yes, sir.
And a question on this concrete flat work?
Yes, sir.
Can that be a separate resolution? Can we have discussion?
Yes.
It's on the
We
consent
can pull
agenda.
that off of consent and put that on their resolutions. That's not a problem, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Where would I find the second reading for the EPIC for the commission, Environmental Policy Commission? It should be May 5th. Because it was,
We can pull ourselves back up to May 5th. There we go, ma'am. Ordinance on second reading. We currently have it slated for 5 minutes of
Okay.
discussion.
all righty. I was looking under consent. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any more questions on May 19th? Okay, June 2nd. We have our standing oil and gas monthly update. We currently have ordinance 2677, that is recognition of click it or ticket grant funds. And then we have second reading we have first reading. We have a zone change in which at that time, first reading will occur on May 5th of 2025. So depending on the actions that you all take. So just a point of clarification here. We place items on consent agenda depending on your actions. If you all, let's say, vote 7-2, 6-3, 5-4, we automatically, after you take that motion or make that motion or take that action on first, we'll move it to the appropriate location on the agenda. So right now, look at that as a placeholder, given that you haven't gone through your first reading. We are not making any assumptions that you all will be approving this. It's simply there for us to place something in a location. Ordinance 2685, it is a recognition of congressionally direct fundings for underpass and upgrades. And then ordinance 2683, we have 4.1, authorizing, or once again, recognition of federal dollars that we received for the Chamber Road widening project. Resolution 2025-61 is once again entering into an IGA with CDOT regarding funding for Chambers Road widening project. We have Resolution 2562, which is entering another IGA with CDOT for the widening of 88th Avenue. And then we have a resolution approving a final plat for Reunion Center Filing 1, Amendment Number 1, as well as Amendment Number 2 under public hearing. Both of those are slated for a 30-minute discussion. And then we have an executive session on that evening for you all to discuss the performance evaluation of the municipal court judge. That brings us to 10:15 p.m.
Regarding the reunion, stop right there, Brittany. Go down. Resolution 2025-63 to 64. Realistically speaking, 30 minutes.
It's on average. I mean, we've averaged somewhere, depends on the robustness of discussion that you all will have and or what we will see as far as resident turnout. In the past, we've averaged somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes.
Do you want to bet a soda that's going to be more than 30 minutes?
Say what?
Do you want to bet a soda that's going to be more than 30 minutes each? Again, this is just a recommendation here. Looking at this, 30 minutes, it seems like a very low number. So take it however you want, just letting you know. I don't think it's going to be 30 minutes each. I honestly believe it's going to be more like a 2-hour per discussion, if anything. And I hate to say that, but I feel like that's what's going to end up happening.
So we can obviously, it's always better to be more conservative than not, but obviously we do have a, I would say, a policy in place that, right, our public hearings are capped at 2.5 hours. So I feel comfortable bumping those up to an hour. I don't foresee, and we'll double check with our teams, any additional public hearing items. Now, once again, that's not to say that you, depending on whatever actions you take from previous meetings, right, they would be carried over to any future public hearing. So it's just something that we'll have to keep in mind. But if the council believes that these will be more robust conversations when brought forward, I have no issues with bumping the time up to an hour each if necessary.
And this is June 2nd, right?
This is going to be June 2nd. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Yes, I agree with Councilmember Kim and would encourage going to at least an hour on each of those. I think that's probably a good policy when it comes to land use matters that come before us. Thank you.
Not a problem. We can bump that up to an hour. That will put you over the estimated adjourn time. Once again, we have that other resolution, resolution. We have that other ordinance out there that caps at 10:30. So once again, just making you all aware where we're projecting, where we're landing for that evening around 11:15 p.m.
Thank you. I had a question.
Yes, sir.
On here, on the agenda, it doesn't show the updates, of course. So it shows May 5th and May 19th, no, May 5th, yeah, May 5th and May 19th as discussing this performance standard for a city manager.
That's my quarterly update to you all, my informal quarterly update.
Right, but we have two. It shows one for May 5th and one for May 19th.
I think the judge was previously on May 19th.
Okay.
Given your travel, it got pushed to June 2nd. So that's where it may, if the printout one that you're seeing references the city manager, that's by error, so apologies to that. But it was for the judge, and then obviously me coming to you all informally on May 5th.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. Anybody else, any other council members have questions of the agenda?
Is the judge still on May 5th?
Judge said May 5th, correct? No,
I'm on May 5th. The judge is on June 2nd.
June 2nd. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I have one just timely update for you all, Mayor. As it relates to my report, I think you all may remember last year, there was a email that I sent out to you on minimum wage. The county was going to be undertaking a study to look at establishing a minimum wage for all incorporated areas countywide. At that stage in time, they were seeking some initial feedback from the community, so they held a couple of open houses before fully jumping into that process. So for the better part of a year or 8 months, they have been working on that, and as of last week, they made a presentation to their Board of County Commissioners on that study. That study was completed in March and was shared with me late last week. My team and I have not had an opportunity to review that in great detail. However, what the Deputy County Manager has been able to share with me after meeting with her leadership is that they would like to continue to explore what that might mean with the local municipalities within Adams County, as well as the broader community. My goal and hope is that we can provide that study to you all with at least some of our initial thoughts or opinions at the staff level to you all in some form of a memo and information. And that over the course of the next year, I suspect I'll be back before you all, as the Deputy County Manager coordinates wanting to come before you all to make a presentation and or to have a policy discussion on whether or not the city would like to be included as part of any action that they do. She did mention that there is the thought of potentially taking this out to a vote of the people in 2026, but that is what we know as of right now. Like I said, still some more work that we have to do, but I suspect that this will be a long-term endeavor that they're going to be working on over the course of the next 8 to 12 months.
Yes, thank you, City Manager Rogers. I was part of that discussion. So was Councilmember Douglas. I'm trying to think who was there from the city.
It may have been Teresa Wilson,
Yeah, yes.
Finance, as well as Eva Levante, our HR Director.
Yeah, I think it was, yes. Yeah, because currently Denver, they have the highest minimum wage along with Boulder County and Edgewater.
Absolute. And I'd be remiss to say, obviously, this weekend is Earth Day. We've got a number of different partners internal to the city working with, whether it's the Refuge, that being our PRG team for the annual Earth Day with the Refuge. That's at the Refuge from 11 to 2. Our E3 team is participating with Adams County at Bison Ridge from 10 to 2 as part of the Earth Day celebration. And then last but not least, there will be a Family Earth Day craft event with our community well-being team at Bell Creek Family Center from 10 to noon, all on Saturday. That's my report, sir.
All right. Councilmember Dukes, you have a question for City Manager Rogers?
I do.
Okay.
Actually, I have a couple questions, City Manager. Pretty slow-pitch softball questions, but first is, can we get an update on the temporary stoplight or temporary traffic signal on Chambers and 105th?
Well, on this one, I may be a little bit cross-eyed because I do not have that one in my sights as far as the details of where we stand.
Okay.
I do know that we did receive bids, and this was as of the middle of last month. We did receive bids. Those bids did come in below what we had appropriated, so that's a plus. So now we're working through contractual arrangements. So that is where I'm at right now, is understanding that working through contracts. That contract will not have to go before City Council because it's within the authority that has been granted to me through our procurement policy. But we haven't broken ground as of yet.
Okay. No, I just asked because there's a lot of excitement up there in the ward. The other question I have is around the Buffalo Run golf course or the remodel. I know we went out the bid. My understanding it went out the bid already, or can you give a quick update on that?
Yes. As of last week, we are moving forward with getting it posted for a request for bids. I do not know. I don't have at my fingertips right now when that bid process will close. But obviously, once that closure bid occurs, we'll be able to then come back to council with the appropriate resolution and being able to enter into a contract for that dollar amount, and then obviously continue to keep working through the construction process.
Anybody have additional questions for City Manager Roger? Thank you, City Manager. I had a question about our process with code enforcement.
Yes, sir.
I know earlier in the year, or last year, it was put out to maybe some tutorial training or so with our code enforcement, so when they approach people who are potential violation, that they would talk to them first, give them to understand what's going on, and not leave a letter without having a personal contact. At least try to have a personal contact, and if not, then, so asking you if you know the protocol, or if they're still working on that.
Yes, sir. Very apropos. We actually did just, I think, bigger picture, we did just hold a training at Bison Ridge to be able to help educate how what I would call a knock and talk process. So if we observe a violation, it is the process for our code enforcement inspectors to engage with the resident, knocking, talking, walking them through what the issue and what the concern is. In the event where we have no one's home, we're not able to make public comment, then we will leave the notice of violation. Now, that obviously that notice of violation is very straight and narrow to communicate what the violation, what the issue is. So we've tried to do some additional attachments or additional language that welcomes a phone call to our code enforcement inspectors, so they can then be able to engage and try to talk through a reasonable solution and/or talk about the issues or the concerns that may be experienced by that resident, so that we can then look at whether or not additional time is needed to get to certain stages of bringing that property into compliance. it's not a surefire thing, and obviously there's still some level of a failure factor there because we're not getting everybody. But generally, the acceptable process that we are trying to apply is knock, talk, gauge, come to a reasonable outcome or solution on when and how that violation can be resolved to both a reasonable outcome for all parties involved. You know, yes, I will say it, we do run into those that we have, you know, seen time in and time again, that ultimately, you know, makes its way through an administrative hearing or into court. And you're right, we have to treat those sensitively in a different way, in a different sense. But generally speaking, we want to engage, we want to be proactive, and we want to be open to understanding and hearing the concerns. So the documentation in and around that is something that's always evolving, and how we communicate that when we're not actually able to see them standing in their threshold.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. On notices for violation, my son is a commercial contractor, does mowing services. And he said that he has a lot of his clients that are receiving notices, which is fine, but by the time, they get 10 days to remedy the problem. By the time it gets put in the mail and they receive it, and we heard it tonight at Citizen Communication, that they receive it and literally he gets notice that they're gonna be fined the next day because they just received it in the mail, and it doesn't give a time for the violation, the owner of the violation, to rectify the problem.
Right.
And so to reduce the risk of being fined, these clients of his, they're at a loss, and they call him, and it's an emergency situation. You gotta get out and get this 30 acres mowed within the next 24 hours. And it's really tough from a scheduling perspective. And so he mentioned it to me yesterday because on Easter, he went out and mowed a large parcel off of Tower Road. And he said he had to do it on Easter instead of spending it with the family because his client was going to get fined because they received it in the mail the day before. And so there's a timing issue, and I want to be fair to all persons, including the resident that showed up earlier tonight to speak, that, you know, with the mail system, anybody in our community that gets a violation, if it starts 10 days, the 10 days starts when the violation comes in, and then it takes the process to notify them by mail. You could eat up that whole 10 days through the mail system, is what I'm trying to say. And there has to be a better way to make notification. It's one thing to put it in the mail, but it's another thing to have the courtesy to call the property owner or whoever it may be and say, hey, you're in violation. We can email you your violation or whatever, but your 10 days started on this day, so you need to try to line up and being able to rectify your violation. Otherwise, by the time they receive it in the mail, they could literally be getting fined the day they get it in the mail, and it doesn't give our residents or property owners time to remedy the violation.
Very, very valid, very good points. And you do speak about a reality that we do have to navigate because it does happen, right? And it's something that I know the team has talked about internally about trying to find a legally compliant way of being able to notice, but also being open to when additional time is required, and how do we engage that, you know, obviously creates a record that protects the process, but also protects the individual's abilities to come into compliance, but also be able to demonstrate how to get into compliance. So the simple answer is yes, we continue to explore ways that I think that'll be a partnership that we'll have to navigate with a number of different internal departments for us to make sure that we're getting to the desired outcome, which is at some appropriate time, compliance with the bigger picture. But yeah.
You know, one of the things that he had mentioned is if he has a client that calls him and says, hey, I was noticed, I got the notice in the mail yesterday, I'm going to start getting fined tomorrow because my 10 days is up. If he, as a contractor, can contact code enforcement and say, this client called me, I'm getting it scheduled based on my work needs, I plan on being out there Thursday afternoon. You know, I just, some way to let contractors and/or residents in our community know that there's a means to reach out to somebody to rectify the problem.
So it may be in the fine print. Once again, I haven't looked at our NOV at the most recent, but we do include language that in the NOV that says, if you need more time to do X, Y, or Z, please call this number. So we do have language on the NOV that does say, hey, you may have gotten this on day 9, you may have gotten this on day 11. If you need more time, please contact this number. That being said, that shouldn't be the end-all be-all for what we need to rely on in making sure that we've got the contact, so we can always explore on how to further diversify that as it relates to engaging in with the property owner of question.
Yeah, as long as we're trying to be fair to our residents and property owners. That's all I care about. Thank you.
Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. I've also been hearing rumblings about code enforcement, and one of the complaints I've had is on the demeanor of the officers, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Say that again, ma'am. I didn't hear it all.
I said I've also been getting rumblings about code enforcement lately, and one of the things I've heard about is the demeanor of the officers, so just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. City Attorney Zazeki.
Just 2 quick items, Mayor. First, I'm happy to report that we have recently hired today our paralegal replacement. If you recall, Jackie Banks retired after several decades working as a paralegal for the city. Rovi Vogel is now in her office. She has a fantastic background. She's actually a community member. She lives in Ward 3. She was previously an attorney in Columbia, and we're ecstatic to have her join the team. We took her out to lunch today and kind of explained what our game plan is for the next 6 months, year to 5 years. So wanted to let you know, if you see a new person in our hallway, it is Rovi. Please introduce yourself. And then also, quick note that our Deputy City Attorney, Deanne Durfee, will be attending the IMLA mid-year conference in DC this Friday through Monday. The IMLA conference covers a multitude of municipal law issues that are the issues that all of us in municipal practice are focused on right now. Those include some of the following: navigating PFAS litigation, securing municipal remediation funds, which came up this evening, First Amendment audits and how do you protect officials from the First Amendment auditors, drone regulations at the local, state, and federal level, which also drones came up today, federal appropriations and executive authority, which provides an overview of broad legal principles related to executive orders withholding appropriated funds for local governments. That's just a handful of roughly 50 topics that Deputy City Attorney will be attending. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for City Attorney? Thank you, Lee. I have a question. I mean, I know we probably don't have this on the books, but say we have contractors that do work on people's homes, and what they've done fails. I know the recourse usually is to go to our state attorney general and have them look as far as best practices, or if there's any kind of issues they've had in the past, any mechanical liens and all that against them? Or not mechanical liens, but anything against those contractors? Is there anything that the city could do as far as initially, maybe a letter or so, or what would that process be like?
I think I could chew on that a little bit more. My initial reaction is that's likely a civil claim between the homeowner and the contractor. It's probably a contract claim. Nevertheless, I can certainly look in. We can chat tomorrow morning and go from there.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Do any council members wish to make a report? Councilmember Chacon.
So just an FYI, I will be gone May 5th because I'll be at the National Association of Latino Elected and Appointed Officials to talk about bringing more Latino business and BIPOC businesses to small communities like ours as well, especially to help density. This past weekend, I went with the New American Leaders, and it was about 19 BIPOC elected officials. I had the privilege of being able to go around LA. I've mentioned before how my brother passed away on Skid Row. We actually discussed houseless initiatives. We were able to meet with the authors of Housing First. We were also able to go to an eco-village, and one of the biggest highlights was the Friday tour that we did with the New Economics for Women that showed us 119 single and multifamily residential apartment units that was formerly of 5 acres from their city. And it was really awesome to meet with, they were called Tierra del Sol community, and they have everything from a school, K through 12, a family resource center, and including several 5-bedroom affordable units. We were also able to meet with the LA County council member there as well to discuss helping us build basically a flow of housing in a way that could help both our density and commercial, but also help in the future, not just market value rate, but those that don't always meet market value rate, which yes, it's our houseless relatives and shelters, but it's a number of other issues. My kids right now, if we were to go the way that we're going, won't be able to ever afford a house in the space that we're living. And it's being mindful about how we're preparing affordable housing for future generations as well. And I have an amazing list of contacts I would love to share, a bunch of information from all the books that they gave us. And I would love maybe a study session potentially, or just being able to meet with city leadership for all this information. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's my report.
All right, Councilmember Teeter.
Yeah, I attended Earth Day yesterday, and they had a great crowd out there and a whole bunch of kids, and Councilmember Kim dropped by, and I spent a lot of time at the environmental booth, and is there any council members that would like to go on a tour out there to see the different monitoring stations and stuff that they have set up? They have a number of different monitoring stations set up where they're filtering the water, and we have that project that they're working on out around 88th and Highway 2. You see the construction out there to where they're going to take down a couple buildings and replace them with that one building. But if somebody's interested, I'll set up a tour for city council.
Sure.
You are interested? Okay. Okay, well, we'll check some times and see what we can get set up.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Had a meeting this afternoon with the Capital Finance Foundation for 27J. That's the group that accepts the funds from developers. It's about $1,500 per house, goes towards 27J. We moved $2 million to the Rocky Vista High School project for design work. And also approved signage for 2 developers who've given more than $6 million to 27J through this effort, D.L. Horton and Lennar.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. I attended the Cultural Council meeting, and then the next day I was thrilled to be able to join other members of council at the Capitol for Commerce City Advocacy Day, and it was a really great event. I did testify on Senate Bill 280, but I did that in my own behalf and made sure that I disclosed that I was a member of the city council, but that I was speaking on my own behalf. And then later that day, I attended the Adams 14 District Accountability Committee retreat. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kim.
Thank you. So I had the opportunity, obviously, as well with others where we went over to the Capitol, met with Senator Daphne Janae Michelson, along with Representative Manny Rutinel, and it was a pretty cool event to go to meet with those folks. Huge shout out to the folks who actually got this all set up and got it going. So thank you very much. Later on that evening, went to the United Power election, went to their end of year report. And I gotta say, one of the things they mentioned that I thought was really cool was they had this thing called there's a Navajo Nation Project, where they were actually providing electricity to over thousands of homes in the span of, I think it was I believe it was in New Mexico is what they were doing. It was, and of course, United Power was also part of that. They were one of the co-ops that was there helping provide that. And they had a beautiful video, in my opinion, where, I mean, these are tribes that essentially didn't have any electricity for over 50, 60 years, and now they finally do have it was quite interesting. Congratulations to the elected board members. Obviously, they're all incumbents. I just want to throw that out there too. And then on Saturday, did attend Earth Day. I got to say a huge shout out to the folks that were out there as well. Kim Adami, representing the boards and commission, just doing her best to advocate for that. We also had the youth commission out there too, with handling all those little kids that were out there. It was pretty cool. The rangers, park rangers that we had. We also had Kylie Whitmore and also two other members. I can't remember, Angie and Mark, I believe their names are. I don't remember where department they're from. My apologies in advance, but those are the things that I did attend. I will tell you tomorrow morning, just a heads up, I am going to meet with Morgan Cullen, who is part of the Morgan Cullen tomorrow morning. If you guys know who he is.
Home Builders Association.
Home Builders Association. Thank you. I'm having a brain fart here, but that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other council members? Councilmember Dukes, did you have any?
Yeah, I just want to report out, attended the Parks and Rec Golf, our committee meeting on Tuesday. I think it was a great meeting. Yep, that's all I had to report.
Thank you. All right. Let's see, last Monday, I had an audit meeting with City Manager Rogers to begin the audit process for this year. And then, of course, tax day was Tuesday. That was dreadful. Also attended the Advocacy Day at the State Capitol. Thank you, Purple Label, for putting that together, and Michelle Fry. And I appreciate City Manager Rogers and the other city staff that came along and participated. Some of the members, this was their first time being at the Capitol, and they enjoyed the experience. I've been there several times, and it's quite the taking in the hall versus the House Representative is how, I say, robust and really debatable on their floor versus the Senate. Much quieter, more fluid. Then also, I did a report for a box truck, and I know it was in the county, but I was able to submit that on Access Commerce City, and it showed that just resided in the county, and also had a person from the county reached out to me to let me know they received the request and they were going to go ahead and look at that. So I think that's really great that we have that process in place because it puts the onus on the jurisdiction who's responsible and not for us to help be the mediator between the county and the city. So, all right, with that, I appreciate everybody's time. It's 9:46. See no further business. We're adjourned.